Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here, and welcome to episode 63 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Met himself, Lord Cognito.
What's going on? Put your dukes up. We outside. Let's go. Lot to talk about. Big show. I'm excited. But first off, how you doing, man? What's going on with you?
I'm doing quite well. Just nice and relaxed today. I don't know. Just a peace has taken me over in 2022, which is funny because there's so much chaos around us. But I've just felt quite at ease as of late. And I don't know why. I can't really pinpoint any particular reason. I've just been enjoying life a lot more. And I think it's because I have a better work schedule. So I've just been nice and steady here. So how about you?
Got that work-life balance down, I see. Okay,
A little bit. Like last night, I was up till 5 a.m. watching John Boy Media. It
went out the window.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that went out the window. But then I woke up at like 10 and I was good to go. I don't know. Sometimes your body just does things you don't understand. And so I'm not going to argue with it. I got a nice start to my day and I felt good. I still feel good. So I'm ready to rock.
You're in a good place, man. Me, it's been the opposite. I've been trying to get back to the good place. I was on my way, then I fell off the wagon. Now I'm coming back, and then this week was just absolutely nuts, man. So just getting back into it, man. But we got gaming news. I love gaming news. That always gets me going. So let's ride.
My favorite thing is when I wake up in the morning and I just see it. I see Lord Cognito and I see a Twitter link because I know he's sending me some fire to start my day. Before I even text my girlfriend back, I'll click that if that's there. Because I'm like, what's going on? What happened? And today it was like Starfield. It's like, here's what's going on with Xbox. We got some news on, of course, the initiative. So there's plenty of spicy stuff to get into. We had over 65 write-ins this week, so thank you all so much. If you want to write in, be a part of the show, you can join up over at patreon.com/laststandmedia. You get early access to the show. You get Defining Duke Ultimate, our patron exclusive show, where we just recorded an episode with Chris Reagan about the dire state of Halo Infinite.
Whoa. That was real talk. That's one of them heart to hearts, right?
Yeah,
that's
we sat them down.
You sit the best friend down and say, look, we got to talk. There's a lot going on. There's a lot we seeing. Raygun brought the fire. The jokes were on. He was in his bag. And then you had me thinking. You made some really critical points that behind the scenes that made me look at things a little different of what potentially could be going on there. But I highly recommend. We told y'all, get on that Ultimate. It's always a classic. It's always a fire episode. And yeah, we brought it, man, from all angles. I love that episode.
Absolutely, yeah. One of our longer episodes too. So for those who are looking for a little bit of extra content this week, whether you're, I was driving here to the studio and I saw like a FedEx driver and I was thinking like, we probably got a lot of FedEx, UPS drivers who just got some time to kill, grinding some podcasts. Because like my FedEx driver in my local area, he looks like the happiest dude. He's always got one AirPod in, big smile all the time, just happy to be delivering the packages. And I'm like, there's got to be some people in our audience, right? So,
yeah, we get that.
Doing a little extra mileage out there. You got a good episode waiting for you. Anyway,
for sure.
We got a lot of questions to go through in this episode. Before we begin with all of that, just some little tidbits of news. First thing I wanted to do here, Cog, was confront a clip I saw making the rounds on the web. I won't say what it was, but it was a clip of us here on our show, and it was one made in jest. And here's the thing. It was a good laugh, but I want to make something kind of clear to everyone who watches our shows, which is we're not tools to be weaponized in a war with fanboys. That's not what we do. Trying to make us look stupid, clipping us to effectively, if we say something dumb and you clip it verbatim, I don't care because I say dumb stuff all the time. That's fine. Same thing, maybe with Cog. He's less stupid than me. But my point being is when you edit the video to intentionally leave out context to make us look dumb and then use us as weapons against a particular fan base, like we don't fuck with that. We don't own you. We don't represent you. We don't want you here. So I'm very much not like that. Like we're not political like that. We take all walks of life here. We don't care about that. But when it comes to being an asshole, like we don't fuck with that. So I just want to make that clear nice and early. And if you have anything to add, please.
Yeah, I jump in. I know what's going on in these streets. Look, I pay attention. Here's the thing. Like you know me. I make fun of myself sometimes when I do something silly or just, somebody clips something. But that's cool when it's the homies, right? When it's the homies and that's one thing, or you have a relationship rapport. The thing I always tell people, and I always came out, I think I said it in my mailbag and I said it to you, is the 10 tweet rule. And you got to look at the source of where it's coming from, right? And when you look at the source of where it's coming from, if you look at that person's timeline and their last 5 to 10 tweets is nothing but console warring and being angry with something or somebody. And if there's no happy tweets like, yo, I'm enjoying the game, I'm having fun. When you don't see that, and it's always the other side, this and the ops, that. And like when dudes is really busting their guns for the console, that's when I know me and that person don't really got nothing to talk about because my mission is different. I'm here to have fun. I'm here to play these games. I'm about to bring people together. I'm on a different path. Me and that person just on a different time. Now, I know people who came from that and it was like, yo, Cog, I used to be on that. And I evolved.
At one
you know what I'm
point,
saying? And we've all come from it. It's just, at the end of the day, that's just not the type of time I'm on. But salute to you for holding me down on that. You know what I'm saying? Because people hit me up with all this stuff because I get clipped all the time, apparently.
Really?
So, yeah, I'm just
surprised it's not me. I'm the loudmouth here for sure.
Bro, I just don't have the time and energy because my thing is this. All I tell people is I hope the person made a bag off it, got some monsters. They do something with it than just staying on Twitter with it. That's number one. Yeah. And number two, at the end of the day, like I said, you do something. Like, don't be on Twitter all day. Get monetize off my mess ups or something. Do that. But like at the end of the day, like, yo, my mission is different, man. I've known, and the older Cog has known not to fire back.
Yeah, I remembered your words of wisdom. I was conjuring up the tweet. I was like, you know what? We'll save it for the show. We'll just make it nice, quick, easy, move on.
And you'd be surprised. last thing I'll say, I've had people who actually have come back and was like, yo, I came at you kind of crazy. And I was wrong for that because I was in it. You know what I'm saying? I was in an immature bag. And it's all good. It's all good. I hold no grudges.
I just wanted to say that up front. Now let's talk video games here.
Let's get it.
All right, so first things first, what was announced by PlayStation was kind of interesting. We'll be talking about this a little bit during the show, but just to make everyone aware that there is a Hogwarts Legacy State of Play. This will already be live or about to go live by the time this is out for everyone on Patreon for early access. And for those of you who are listening on free feeds, it'll already be out there. And this has caused quite the stir. This is a third-party game that's getting an exclusive State of Play. And there was a little blurb in the PlayStation blog post that said, we'll provide further context on what you see when the showcase is done here on the blog post. This came from the community manager. So a lot of people are like, I wonder if it's like, an acquisition. I don't know if the community manager would be tapped into that because historically we've seen they don't know those types of things. It's very higher up dealings. But I'm very interested to see because to me it read more like, and this is kind of fun because people can hear how wrong or right we are. To me, it read like, we're going to show you something kind of multiplayer servicey that doesn't belong here, and we're going to explain why it's not that bad. That's my prediction there.
That's your interpretation with it. No, it's interesting. It's interesting that a State of Play is for it, right? Like, a whole State of Play for that game. And I'm curious about marketing. Obviously, I'm curious about services and what services they may appear or may not appear in.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, we'll see. So definitely, I'll be locked in to watch what's going on.
Yeah. Our shows record on Wednesdays for those who don't know, so unfortunately won't be able to add any more to what's going on with Hogwarts Legacy, but we have conversations surrounding that we'll get into. Next, Elden Ring. 12 million sales confirmed, the biggest new IP since The Division, and it sold better than any game in 2021 outside of Call of Duty. So this is doing gangbusters. I think their original projection was 4 million, and they multiplied that by 3 in 2 weeks. So Elden Ring is well on its way to probably easily 20 million copies sold once it's all said and done, and probably surpassing that by the time they reach their next game.
Bro, like I will say, even though I'm not a Souls guy, this is cool to see. Like this is really cool because I know that community, man. They go hard in the paint for that series, and to see it get the critical acclaim that it deserves, and the fact that once you said Skyrim level, I was like, okay, maybe I may have to see what's going on. So apparently the realm has voted that I have to stream.
You're gonna hop into it.
I got to line the dates up and see what the schedule is, but I got to at least try it. That's what I was told.
Yeah, I feel you will be hooked. I smell a Disco Elysium coming in. You're gonna play it, and you're too much of an enthusiast, Cog, to not go, this is different, and like and give it the rip.
I want to, and I have to. I'm going to now. I
Mhm.
just don't like stress in my life. That joint look like stress. I'll be seeing
That's me
addict in
with
the.
Cuphead. I'd never play Cuphead because I'm
Oh.
just like, man, I don't want to get
Yeah,
angry.
like, bro, I just work 12, 14 hours, then do a podcast, then to come home and be arguing and throwing controllers at a screen.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the Blinx dude.
Yes. We got a follow up from the Blinx dude. Don't you worry. I didn't read it. I just saw it's me, the Blinx guy from last week. I was like, copy paste. It's in there.
Yep.
We'll see what he says because I want to read it live on the show. I can't wait to get to that. We got a
No,
lot
no.
of funny write ups. In fact, one throwback from Ham Radio I'm going to get into that I'm like, I don't even remember saying this shit, but I believe I did.
Dude's got the receipts.
Yeah. So last little bit of gaming news, and then we'll talk with the audience. Gears, they announced their final season for their esports league, and the coalition stated that they are shifting their focus to future projects. Cog, you sent this my way, and I thought it was kind of interesting because they seem to now be committing to what's next for them and not hanging back with Gears 5 any longer.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't really follow the esports scene like that, but I just thought it was interesting that the focus shift is going to require them to move off of it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I was curious more about the player counts on the community. How's that doing? And I mean, it may not even be anything. This could be par for the course for esports, whenever there's something new. I don't know because I don't really. That's Gears multiplayer is not something. I'm a horde guy. I'm the campaign guy. That's what COG is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But no, I thought it was interesting little tidbit, and I like the coalition, and I think I know we're gonna get into studio talk a lot, but I don't think they get their roses for the level of consistency they have had as one of Microsoft's Xbox game studios. So just curious about it. That was all.
Yeah, especially because the report is they're working on like a smaller game first before the next Gears game. So I'm excited to see whatever that ends up being.
That happened to be in collection of certain titles.
Mm-hmm. Oh, outside of that one, but yeah, I forgot about that. That would be a great thing to see as well. A little Gears collection. Yeah, now that they're winding it down, good point. Like this is a good time to start.
Be a good way to learn a new engine with existing, assets.
Oh, I like where your head's at. You're thinking big.
I'm just saying.
All right, let's talk with the audience a little bit. Let's start off with this one that just really, it was the first write-in we got on our post, and I saw it and went, what in the world? I got to talk about this. So David Graham writes, I would just like to share, I have a distinct memory from approximately 7 years ago. So I was, let's do the math here. I was 19. This would make a lot of sense. Where Matty shared that his favorite porn category was mom. Okay. While I commended the boy on his openness, this information has nonetheless haunted me ever since. So I must ask, is this the case? Now, here's the thing. This was a time period where Matty had no shame. And I came from an era of like, I didn't understand the idea that we don't need to know certain things about each other on the internet, right? Like, I just
you were too open with it.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I prided myself being an open book, but man, like I just let loose on that one. Apparently, I don't know why. Look, David, what I'm going to say here is I'm not going to confirm or deny any of this because I don't need to give you the mental image. What I need you to do here is let this part of yourself go. 7 years is a long time to hold on to a ham radio podcast memory of, I know it was me, Lone Noah. I remember the segment. We were all running through some of the most wild shit. We had a crazy show, man. Like I would argue at times, from what I've heard, like Snark Tank level. Like we had a show that most times didn't talk about video games and people loved it. But yeah, you definitely heard some, because me and Noah are best friends. So like we were just, we talked as if the mic wasn't even on.
That's what's up. Organic.
But nowadays, I've adopted the mindset, you don't need to know certain things about me. We don't need to know each other on this level, right? We can be close. I'll share with you personal stories on my health. I'll try to help you out where I can. You don't need to know what's going on in the hub, bro.
Okay, fair enough. Wait, listen, man, judgment free zone, man. To each his own, baby.
Dude, moms are still great.
Moms are great. Salute the moms out there.
Yeah, salute the moms. But
let's about vitamins and all that.
Just I don't need this to haunt David any longer. So I need to put the issue to rest here. To any ham radio listeners out there, former ham radio listeners, make sure the record was straight. I'm sure that episode's available somewhere on my YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, definitely gonna pull it up. It's gonna be a video.
Yeah. So enjoy that whenever you find it. With that, let's talk with Macro, who writes, "Hey Duke Definers. Last week, Matty called me out as I'm a prolific shit talker of Skyrim and many creation engine games who has 160 hours in Skyrim and 60 hours in New Vegas." Before I continue here, I don't mean to interrupt all these write-ins, but me and Cog, we were talking last week about how there's a lot of people who run their mouth about Bethesda Game Studios games and then sink those hours in. So I was like, why do people do it? Clearly they like something, right? Here's a little perspective. Macro writes, you guys said there must be something on some level that people like me love about them. And you're right. That thing for me is mods, fan-made content that barely engages with the base game. So to me, that serves as a bigger knock against the games. Don't get me wrong. I respect these games, and I hope Starfield grabs me. But I'm sorry, Matty, I'm going to continue to slander. Thanks for the show. Have a lovely day, boys. All right, Macro, I can respect this take. Can you?
I'm in a disagreement.
Okay.
I respect it. I do understand where he's coming from. All right, Macro, this is where I got to get you, because it kind of reminds me of people who say they hate Destiny. And then I look at their timeline, and it's like 200 plus hours. It's thousands upon thousands of hours. It's, COG helped me through this. And I'm like, wait a minute. You slander Destiny all the time. You talk all of this craziness. So I always remind them that this was you, right? You're asking me to play the new DLC. This is you, right? I just want to be clear. Now to Macro, look, I understand his point that he's saying that's not the base game and that I'm doing this additive content, right? That if the game was really good, I wouldn't have to be doing this. But they put this in there for guys like you. They literally thought of a guy like you, that can create. And let's be honest, the beauty of Skyrim, and that's why me and Matty had the little back and forth, which was fire. If y'all didn't watch the last episode of the Final Duke, at the end we had a great Fallout versus Skyrim segment. The thing about these games that are so great is it allows you to personalize. It's your story. So you're creating your own thing. Bethesda knows this, man. So that's the only thing I say. But I'll let you go, because I'm curious, because this was a big discussion point, I feel.
Yeah, I respect it, because I'm surrounded by way too many people in my life as someone who's covered Bethesda games for so long that just love the mods and like put them on a pedestal. I do think there came to an extent where I thought, Bethesda would give them the tools and they would make great things on the framework Bethesda had created, and people would go, well, the modders are better. And I'm like, well, the framework has to exist first, which is from Bethesda. But then came Fallout 4 and 76, where you would see in 76 glitches that existed in Fallout 4 that Bethesda never even bothered to patch. And that's where I think there was some validity, and where I turned the corner on people like Macro, where I was like, yeah, I can see why you may just avoid the base game at times. Now, I think, no modders come close to touching the atmosphere and the handcrafted nature that a BGS game has, but some of them have certain feels. Some of them have that BGS DLC feel, that experimental vibe to them. And I respect it. But at the end of the day, you're still engaging with the core systems. Like, people go, I don't like Skyrim because of its UI, so I play it with Sky UI. And I'm like, okay, so you're still playing Skyrim. You're you're using a different UI makeup. So I get where Macro's coming from. I respect those who are like Macro, but you like the game.
Exactly.
You like the game.
Speak to yourself. Be honest.
All right. Quinn has a really nice write in here for both of us. Hey, Dukes, not a question, just a huge shout out to the boys. I've been following Matty on and off for years, but I'm locked in now with defining Dukes. And I got to say, something about the energy you bring to your content and the journey you've been on up until this point makes me cheer you on like a mom at a soccer game.
Yeah, you like the moms.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're talking about moms. No.
Good call.
Thank you, Quinn. We'll be talking later. Anyway. He says, admittedly a weird analogy since I'm a 23-year-old dude, but it is what it is. Keep doing what you're doing. The effort's really paying off. Thank you, Quinn. And then for you, Cog, he says, you've been on fire lately with the back and forth. DD introduced me to you and the boys over at ILP. The dynamic between y'all is incredible. You've truly brought together the A team, and I agree with that, by the way. They can be messy like the A team as well, and I've always been impressed by the way you manage to keep things on track. You're killing it, as always. Best of luck with the role at Oculus. Thanks for all the gaming news, guys. Have a did I just leave my stove on moment while on family vacation in Majorca kind of day.
Yo, Quinn, that's love, man. Those are the comments that it really hit home, and those are the ones I try to focus on instead of the nonsense, because at the end of the day, if you touch someone's life and someone says, yo, Matty, like, I really enjoy what you're doing, Cog. I really like the ones that get me are the ones that say, yo, you got me through my day or through a tough period. We talk about the truckers, the UPS, like that's real. That's when you know what you're doing is the right thing and you're affecting people. So as I said, I always tell people, stick to the mission. This is what it's about. You know what I'm saying? And at the 100%. End of the day, thank you. Much love. That's what's up. Really enjoyed that.
Perfectly put. Let's move on to Dan XL with our most important question of the show, and then we'll talk with the Blinx Guy. Dan XL writes, hey boys, I got a fun one for you today. One has to go forever. Chicken wings, burgers, pizza, or fries. Have a well-done burger kind of day. I don't know if that's good or bad. Some people like well-done burger. I don't.
Yeah.
Medium
You
rare.
don't like it? Well, yeah, me. Oh, what do you like? Yeah, me neither. What do you like?
Medium rare. Medium
So
rare.
you do medium. Okay, so I'm right next to you. I'm like medium well, but
Okay.
medium.
Yeah, just if I don't see pink in my burger, I don't want it.
You don't want it. Yeah, I feel you. This is all right. So fun. One has to go forever. So we keep everything else though, right? We good.
Yeah. That seems to be the catch here.
I think
it's gotta be chicken wings. Gotta be chicken wings.
You talking to a black man about chicken wings? What? Hell no! I'll be thrown out of my own race. I'd be disowned. Hell no, we keeping that chicken, bro. Okay. Listen, I'm from the era. I know I made it racial, but we gonna have fun. No. Look, I'm from the era at 2 a.m, South Bronx. No, nothing's open but the chicken spot. And they always got a weird name. It'd be like Mama's Fried Chicken, Kennedy's Fried Chicken, Papa's Fried Chicken. It'd be some, and it's usually always run by like, member. Yeah, it's generally not run by African American people, which is kind of fun. That's another story. But they be the spots and they be open. So we always would go to the chicken spot. It would be, the routine would be game late at Mama Cog's house. She let me rock with all the homies. And then we rock out long gaming sessions, Halo, whatever. Everybody's hungry. Like, yo, what's open? Pizza shop's not open. McDonald's not open. But 2 a.m. down the block be a chicken spot. So we would go there. So the chicken spots are near and dear to me. So I feel that for you. For me, I'm probably going to say, because burgers I love, pizza, New York slice, can't go without that. I've always battled the Chicago dude. Y'all Chicago dudes eating that lasagna. Y'all know what y'all doing. It's lasagna, not pizza. But anyway, shout out to Jake.
Rand just broke into a cold sweat.
Yeah. Shout out to my Chicago dude. This is a fun battle. I love Chicago. I'll actually be visiting there soon. But I will say, I'm gonna have to say fries as much as it hurts me. Okay. I like fries, but you know what it is? Not everyone does fries, I feel, well.
Yes.
And if I could go out without something, it'll probably, because you can have a really good burger and be full, like a really good cheeseburger and be full, like just the burger itself, the fries that added. That's a good one. But you clearly going chicken wings. Let me hear why.
Well, you brought up a good point where I'm kind of getting gun shy here. At first I was like pulling the trigger on chicken wings. I'm like, yeah, I can live without that. But you're right with the fries. Like if you get a good fry, that's where my mindset was at. Like you get a good fry, nice crispy, with inside being soft, but sometimes they're too starchy. Sometimes the wedge is too thick.
Yes.
You could just get something that's kind of cold on the inside. It's just, dry is a perfect word for it. Yeah, you there's not a consistency to fries, but there is a general consistency, even at the bare minimum of chicken wing. Like you're going to Buffalo Wild Wings. You know you're going to get at least something decent, right? But I'm a boneless guy too.
You go to the sports bar, you get the wings with your liquor, the beer. Butler don't have no margaritas, but we don't get to that. But you know what I'm saying? You gotta go. Like that's a thing, man. But continue. I'm sorry.
No. You didn't interrupt me. I just I'm really pondering this deeply, and I think I might be with you. I might release the fries, but the thing is, they're a great accomplice, right? They're a part of things.
Yeah.
They're a part of things. I'm gonna go chicken wings.
Yeah, it's a Batman and Robin situation with fries. So it's not that we don't love them, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like they're an extra thing added to make an experience great. As it's rare, the fries are amazing when you could have the fries by themselves. And to me, that's not the majority of the time, in my opinion.
I'm a big sweet potato fry guy. I know that's a weird move, but
no.
Oh, really? Oh, you like it?
I didn't know.
There we go.
See? I knew.
There we go. Dude, yeah, because like that to me, like you don't have to sometimes worry about the dip. Like they're just there. So yeah,
it's more healthy for you, bro.
It is, right? We're being wise while we're doing it. So chicken wings, I love you. But I'm a boneless guy. I'm a very specific chicken wing eater. But like with fries, I can vary it up, right? So I think chicken wings we're gonna let go, Dan. We're gonna let them go.
They just don't come to the black community. You ain't invited to it out. That's cool. Gotta have fun with it.
Let's talk with Mark Crouch. He's gotta write about Blinx. Hello, Dukes. It's the Blinx Guy. I wish last week's write-in was a joke, but sadly it is not. Matty is right in saying he remembered me writing in about Blinx before. I had written in a number of months ago after doing some research on the game's development and looking at some gameplay just to ask Matty why he liked it. His Retro Rebound video answered that question and played a big part in me trying the game out. Before I explain my hatred for Blinx, I do want to say there is one redeeming quality to this game. Knowing how many enemies are in the level at the start and what types of enemies are left as you cross them off your list is an addicting little mechanic. Now then, I'm not the type of person that rages when I play games. There's something about Blinx that that just pisses me off. Be it the little smirk he gives when he's sucking up time monsters, or his stupid rolling when he sticks out his tongue when he gets hit by enemies, or his stupid fucking run animation. All of these things are in the player's face constantly, and it genuinely took them as Blinx taunting me. It's like when he was saying, hey, you won't beat me, and see the end of my game. Having joined the undoubtedly small club of people who have finished Blinx the Time Sweeper, I will admit that I still feel the cat taunting me because I know there's a sequel. Blinx 2 arrived in the mail a few days ago, and the disc has been sitting in my Xbox 360 while I work up the courage to do this to myself all over again. Wish me luck in getting this furry little shit off of my mind and into the dustbin of gaming history where he belongs. Now, this is so interesting because I feel bad for Mark. I haven't played it yet, but I've heard that Blinx 2 isn't as good as Blinx 1. Blinx 1 is beloved. Yeah. Blinx 2 doesn't carry that much weight. So, Mark, you may be in for a worse time here. I hate to say that there's a possibility. So I just want to warn you, brother. I just want to warn you.
Shout out to Mark Crouch, man. He going through it, man. This is clearly a love-hate relationship with this game.
There's something he loves. He didn't follow that up, right? We said, tell us what you like. And he was just like, oh, it's playing the whole level. It's like, so you like the game,
so
Mark.
You like the game. Yeah. I'm telling you, people have love-hate things, man. But that was hilarious. Shout out to Mark Crouch. Salute.
Mark's literally a Bethesda Game Studios fan.
Nice.
In a different form. That's what I'm seeing here. All right, let's move on to what games we are playing. We got some interesting ones in the lineup here, plus a write-in that I'll save for when I talk about the games I've been playing. Cog, why don't you go first? I see you're still on the Destiny grind.
Yeah, man. It's been phenomenal, man. This is so good. It's just comfort food. Shout out to Chris Raygun. We were talking. I had him on the Last Word podcast with Ebontis, Todd Got Travis. And it's just I can't stop the things that they've added, from the gunplay and the mechanic. Right now I'm getting into the minutia, my builds and basically they've restructured the classes. So they've basically how Destiny used to work was kind of you have to pick from these pillars and you're kind of limited to the set things you can do ability wise. Grenades. Now with Warp 3.0, they made it into like an RPG, almost like a fragment system. So now it can be like, okay, I want these type of grenades. And now they added more synergy with the classes. And then you're getting these bombastic combinations where I can make people explode. It's just, you start to get builds in Destiny now. And I'm like, whoa, this is exciting. I am worried about future power creep down the road. But hey, I'm having fun. And I think what they're realizing is let the player have fun.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So Bill's on that. So Destiny's in his bag, beat the raid. I'm in the post-law with that. I gotta shout King on this one. He hits me randomly. All right, the game name, because they're gonna kill me, is 9 Monkeys of Shaolin. It's a demo out on Xbox right now. This is for my old head. I shouldn't even say that. I shouldn't even preface. If you just like any type of martial arts kind of movies, but like the thing about this is cool. It's like a fun, cutesy art style.
Ooh.
I guess the game, been out before. I seen it before, but like a long time ago, real quick, in like a teaser trailer for like 10 seconds. King found this game, bro. All right, so basically it's 2-player co-op if you want. You got the staff. Great story, like, typical, they came to your village, they burnt your joint down. Shaolin monks, you were near death. Shaolin monks saved you from these killers or whatever. And then I guess they train you. And the cool thing about it is like staff attacks. You have your pole, your kick kind of stuff. Then you have a dodge, you have parry mechanics. And I will say, voice acting in this little indie title is on point, telling a very fun little story. Like, it's really cool. So right now it's out. The demo is, again, 9 Monkeys of Shaolin. Check that out. It's really cool. I'm really enjoying it right now. So, and it's got a little challenge to it. The different type of enemy types you got to deal with. And the last thing is Phoenix Point, man. A lot of new DLC came out. I believe Chaos Engine, where they give you like all these cool vehicles and stuff like that. So what I did is I'm going to start my playthrough over because a new DLC dropped last week, and there was a DLC that dropped. But they've been dropping content for Phoenix Point, y'all. So get on Phoenix Point. If, like I said, the base is in Game Pass. If you like it, these DLCs are really adding to the game. So I'm definitely going to get my hand on those new vehicles to see what's going on. But yeah, that's been it pretty much for me. What's been going on with you besides that? Besides triangles?
Yeah, so still continue on Triangle Strategy. It's been my
Mhm.
in-between game here for reviews at this point in time, and I'm still really enjoying it. Its combat is really good. The main story is great. I'm not really a fan of the side character stories, but it's definitely one of my favorites of this year. I don't know if it'll be in a Game of the Year list, but it's living up to my personal hype as someone who loves the type
Mm.
of HD 2D games that Square Enix has been publishing. Quite honestly, the only games that have been good
Yeah.
that they're publishing. I've also been
Mhm.
playing another Square Enix published game. I put my review out for it. Not a lot of people were happy about this one, but that's okay. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. We got a lot of write-ins about this one, so I'm hoping to answer some of them here in
Mhm.
my what we're playing section.
Mhm.
So for those who aren't familiar with this game, it is from the team known as Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo. So they were behind the Neo series, most relevant to this game, I would say. Neo 2 being one of my favorite Souls-like games, easily a top 3. I think it's phenomenal. And for those who
I
need a
remember
little
that.
perspective, my Game of the Year list for 2020 was literally number 1, Persona 5 Royal, number 2, Neo 2. Like, I put it
Oh, absolutely.
in very high company.
Yes, I love
So
that one. Mhm.
it's so good. And leading into Stranger of Paradise, it's this more action-focused Final Fantasy game that has elements of Neo. And I was thinking, like, this is the team for that. Like, they already had Muso elements from like the Dynasty Warriors and Samurai Warrior games in Neo. And I was like, okay, we're gonna crank that up a notch in Final Fantasy, and we're still gonna have some Souls-like elements. You've already got 2 games under your belt. This has everything going for it. It was on paper kind of like a Final Fantasy 1 remake. And my verdict for this game was to wait for a sale because I think the game's really messy right now. I think there's a balancing issue that really pops up towards the end game, which I didn't see a lot of reviewers bring up, even though they put some high scores on it. So that made me scratch the head a little bit because I went deep into the end game, man. I was at 30 hours. The game's only about 20 hours, but there's a lot of side content after you finish it. This game it reminded me a lot of how I felt with Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, where it's a
Break
game
it
with a
down.
lot of systems and a lot going
Yeah.
on. None of it really presented to the player well. Like when you look at
Yeah.
Stranger of Paradise's inventory management, it's a literal travesty. It's so bad because there's just
Mm.
so much loot you're picking up that it's not actually fun because you're always just not sticking with a build. You're just moving on to the next piece of equipment. Eventually, you don't care what you have on. Neo 2 did a good job of giving you like unique legendary items that you stick with for a while. There's none of that here in Stranger of Paradise. But you have to go into these menus because there is an inventory limit of like 500 and you're looting probably 200 items per mission. And they're not organized or sorted properly. So you're just trying to find a needle in a haystack per item. Like, oh, where's that legendary sword I got? I think it's here. You scroll down a list, even though it's the highest level, the sorting's terrible.
Oh, I
So
hate games like that.
right. So it reminded me on like a UI level right away of Ultimate Alliance, where I'm just like going menu to menu to menu to menu to find out where I am. But at the core, just like Ultimate
Mhm.
Alliance, this gameplay system is fun when everything's working. So in Stranger of Paradise, they have this job system, and it's got 27 jobs, which is so cool because all of them have different abilities and combos. So you could be like the dragoon, the duelist, the assassin. You could be the mage, or like whatever one you want to be: red mage, white mage, black mage. You could be a sage, paladin, liberator. It takes literally like the Final Fantasy 14 class structure in a lot of ways and just puts it in an action game. And it makes it where like you go into a skill tree for the duelist and you have to reach the end of the duelist to unlock one key component to get the thief class. And then you have to go into the warrior and get to the other key component,
Really?
and then you'll fully unlock the thief class. Then you can switch jobs. And so the whole game really thrives off of that fluidity between all these classes you're playing as.
Mhm.
And it's 3-player co-op. So when everything's working,
Really?
when you got the co-op rolling, when the damage balance is good, and when you're rocking with some fun jobs, like this game is a legitimately good time. When you couple that with the story, which I thought was really enjoyable, like it's actually a fun popcorn movie romp with some really corny, campy dialogue throughout the entire game. And then in the last couple of hours, it just turns it up a notch and really starts to piece some stuff together. You're like, whoa, this is not bad. It's still super messy. And I'll talk about why in a moment with one of our write ins, why exactly it's messy, which it does bug me in one way. But it was an enjoyable, entertaining game. But for me, like I found myself too many times very frustrated, and especially in the end game. Like there were enemies that would just wipe you, and the level design wasn't accommodating the range of enemy attacks that would coat the room. And that's even in 3-player co-op. It just, the balancing wasn't good here. And RPGs, I'm sorry, people don't seem to get it in my review, but they live and die off balance. Like there is a clear design issue where when they created the math for the progression system in this game, and they were saying like, here's how the damage is going to scale, that it starts scaling probably in a negative number because suddenly you drop off. You drop off in damage, everyone scales up, you start getting one shot, you start getting swarmed, they start getting spongy because you're not hitting as hard. And I'm telling you, like, we had a team of 3, we were messing around with different combos, and unless you're really like cheesing the game, it just, it ends up not being fun by the end game. So it was in the first 10 hours, I'm like, this is good. This is a good time. Like, it's not an amazing game, but this is like a flawed but fun game. Like it wears its flaws on its sleeve. It knows what it's trying to do. And I respect that. But then by the end game, I'm like, you know what? It just, it falls apart for me. And a lot of people are enjoying it. And I get why. That's the thing. A lot of people were saying like, I'm buying it anyway, and folding their arms in my review. And I'm like, good. It's because I never said it was a bad game. I just said it's messy. Like it's a complete mess. Like it's just not presented well, and it's balanced terribly. If they fix that stuff, if they fix the balance, like I will instantly just flip my verdict and be like, go get it. Because the balancing was, to me, so disruptive to the experience. There were a lot of other things I can nitpick here for the podcast. I do that in my review. But I'm trying to just explore things that I didn't talk about in full on my review here, because Square Enix was really weird and was like, you can't put your review out plus 20 minutes. I'm like, that fucking sucks, because I need time to explore all these different mechanics, and I couldn't. So that was really unfortunate, because if you look at my reviews for major games that have come out, they've all been like 25 minutes long.
25 minutes, you know, kind of forced on that time. That kind of stuff. I did want to comment before you move on to your next one. It's just that what we had that conversation last week about reviewing and how you said, like this to me is a classic example. Like the first 10 hours, right? You're like, yo, okay. And then the balancing and everything kind of went left for you in your personal experience. So it's just interesting. Like these are those type of games where you can have a different of opinion based on the first half and the second half of a game.
Yeah, first half of the game was really just fun co-op romp. If they fix the balancing, or this would be a great Game Pass game, like I'll recommend it right away that way. But I said $30-$40, you get it then, you'll have a really good time, and you could probably go through some of the issues with not much of an issue, or not much of a struggle, I should say.
Gotcha.
But the reason I said that, I had something to add on to the story talk, and then we'll move on to our warm-up questions, is the Snack Squatch writes in saying, hey guys, when will we stop acting like Tetsuya Nomura makes good games? I will appreciate his contributions to the older Final Fantasy games for his character designs, but any game he had a large role in has been mediocre at best. The Kingdom Hearts series, Final Fantasy VII Remake, I know Colin and Chris like this game, but to me, he ruined it. And now Strangers of Paradise seems to be getting mediocre reviews at best, which, by the way, that's not true. It was like in the high 70s, low 80s.
Okay.
He had 10 years to make Final Fantasy Versus 13, and we saw how that went. Tabata was put in charge of his mess, and he gets the negative reputation associated with it being unfinished. It's frustrating hearing, if this was Nomura's game, it would have been amazing. He had how many years and couldn't get it out? I don't know how people act like this man is the messiah of JRPGs, but he can't write a cohesive story if his life depended on it. One of the main reasons I'm excited for Final Fantasy 16 is he has no association with it. Thanks for all you do, and sorry for the rent. Do you have any thoughts on Tetsuya Nomura, Cog?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Now, granted, I am not, the expert on him, on all his games. I can only talk about the games I play, and then I can talk about those deep in the community that I have to give Snack Squatch this. This is a hot button topic. I have come into party chats and this man name come up and they go in. And I think, was Attic one of them? I don't want to throw Attic under the bus, but I remember I was like,
surprised.
I was like, why do people, because Attic is way more hardcore into this guy's game, because Attic's a big Kingdom Hearts guy, right? And he's like, yo, the story be all over the place sometimes, and some people do kind of blame his involvement on some things, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I can speak to is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, I personally loved it. I thought it was ballsy what they did. For those who have not played, I'm not going to spoil it, but I thought it was extremely ballsy for the reputation that franchise have to end it in a way untypical, right? So I'm like, okay, now the only thing is you have to execute with this new direction, right?
Yeah.
So to speak. And that is a lot of pressure. So I
Mhm.
don't know. The jury's still out, and let's see how he lands this plane. But I do like what he did. And we shout out to Hogue Law, shout out to I did a Sacred Symbols Plus, my first Sacred Symbols, where we talked about this. And Hogue hates it. Hogue is like, dude, what is he doing? He ruined it. Like Hogue is on the snack swatch train. He's like, this guy, get him out of there. Right. So this is a controversial. I'm glad this subject came up. This is a very hot. So I am so curious about what you think, because I know you play a majority of this guy's games and his involvement. Yeah. Where does Matty sit on the fence with this? I'm curious.
I gotta side with like his involvement sometimes is kind of it's to a negative, because to me, he's been in the game so long. The way I view it is it's almost like a man bored of what worked. Like he's just bored and he's trying to do these galaxy brain weird moves. I don't want to spoil anything with Strangers of Paradise, but like even in this game, it's got Tetsuya Nomura energy all fucking over it. And I'm just like, God, man, you just can't help yourself but like run this idea into the ground. And it's like they're trying to shock you constantly. And it's just like, it's not working.
You do it too much.
Yeah, it's not working. Like, stop, please stop. Because, you know, Kingdom Hearts has suffered enough. Now it looks like Final Fantasy. I'm with you. I was like, this is ballsy. I respect it. I like the ending. But look, I'm not going to kid myself. This could go south. Immediately.
Yes, agreed. It could go, very south.
Yeah. So I'm sitting here like, you know what? Like, I would love to give Tetsuya the benefit of the doubt, but right now, he's really just doing whatever he wants, because I think he's just like, this would be kind of cool. I've never done this before. What do you guys think? Yeah, this is fucking weird, right? Yeah, let's do it.
So you think he's almost like a shock jock in a way, like he's feeling himself, and he's just like, I'm going to do X, Y, Z. And he has that much creative.
It's like he doesn't understand what made the stories that he originally was a part of work properly, and it's just gone for pure shock factor and mind-bendy twists that make no sense in every single story, and relies on like fan wikis and videos to piece things together worse than like a From Software game. It's just. I'm with Sasquatch. I think like, I'm right when I heard Tetsuya is not involved. This is from the Final Fantasy 14 team with 16. I was like, dude, number one, I don't even like Final Fantasy 16 that much. So, I was like, hey, this is my chance to see what they're all about in a Final Fantasy game that I would be into, and not have Tetsuya involved with mechanics in a story that we've seen many times in his games. And just knowing that that's to the side. Good.
This is fun. It's a great subject. I love it. I love it. We're going to see what happens, man.
Yeah. So with that, let's move into our warm-up questions, and we'll get into an exciting week of news, starting off with Adam Turley. He says, hey, Dukes, I was wondering if any of you got to test the upspec xScreen. It seems pretty cool in theory, but I'm not sure if it's placed in a world where I can stream directly to my phone through xCloud. I had one of these type of screens for the GameCube back in the day, and I loved it, but I'm not sure I would use it now. Have a great day. Cog, I saw on the Twitter account that you got your hands on it. Have you had a chance to test this out?
Yeah, man, it is. I am very impressed. I'm like, they did that from a manufacturing standpoint. It's manufactured so well, you think it's an official Xbox device.
Wow.
Right. So you slap that bad boy on little man on the back. You know what I'm saying? The cool thing is they have a port, even though it covers over the HDMI and like one of the USB ports of maybe the back right section of your Series S. The back left section is exposed, where you can now put in your storage expansion slot, because the S storages. So that was smart call. They didn't cover that, right? And I believe you still get another USB. So I think you get one USB. So the only thing, USBs are limited now as a result of this device. But from the moment you open it, you just make sure you put it in energy saver mode, so that once you finish and you close the lid, it shuts down the console, because the Series S does tend, that little speaker, he get hot. So the cool thing is, make sure you put it in energy saver mode, and the instructions on the xScreen tell you. But the clarity, bro, so good. Nice. Got a nice 1080p screen. You know what I'm saying? Getting your 60 frames. The bougie me was like, yo, is there going to be a 120 frames model? They're like, look, we just trying to get this thing out the door. Relax, relax. I'm like, all right, I gotta shoot my shot. So, you got that. And I have to admit, you have some basic level screen customization that you can do with it. Mm-hmm. But for on the go, which I intend to take this fully because I got me and the Lords, we got packs coming up.
Yeah.
This will get the full. I got to give it the full outdoor remote test though, right? Because the mindset for some things is I still think there's going to be a check that you need to do with the S at some point.
Yeah.
And I want to see how offline I could go and without maybe connecting it to a Wi-Fi or a hotspot or my phone or whatever. So I'm going to put it through its paces, but so far, excellent.
Nice.
Love it.
Yeah. $250 for those who are curious. And I think for the DRM for Xbox, I think you have to play it once and then you can go offline.
Yeah.
And then the keys.
I just haven't tested it myself, so I can't speak to it officially, but I would defer to people who've done it. Like if you've done it, I know you said your girl has one or whatever. So you guys you know more than me. To be honest, I'm always on my X so much, but now that kind of pandemic restrictions are going down a little bit. Cog's gonna be traveling more. Now, I got a lot of stuff lined up this year. So the little man coming with me with that xScreen, bro. I'm ready. I ain't got to call Matty in the middle like, how do you break into this hotel LCD monitor?
What wire do you unplug? It's like diffusing a bomb.
Which wire is like I'm doing bomb work? So I use the yellow wire, then move the red. Like you figured that you made a video. Let me tell you how good a content creator this man is. This man literally made me a video remotely from his hotel room to my hotel room. Said, "God, this is what you do. Here's how to do. He could have been good, but here's how to do it at the hotel."
Because for me in my head, I'm like, if I send him a text and then he doesn't get it, then I'll have to send another text, and it's just less effort to send the video.
Excellent. That was premium content creation. Right?
The beauty of the iPhone.
Yes.
All right. Next writing comes from John Hankey. He says, "Hello, Dukes. Excited to see you guys at the live show this April. We will not be there.
Dukes will not be there.
Yeah, we will not be there. Just sacred symbol, but
sacred symbol. But we respect to the team.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate you, John. For we'll be there in spirit. Yes. As a longtime Harry Potter fan, I can feel my excitement building for Hogwarts Legacy's gameplay reveal this Thursday. My personal feeling is if it's a good game and with how big the Harry Potter IP is, the game will sell well. Even with the expected game outlet coverage and drama with J.K. Rowling, are there any thoughts on how fair or unfair this game's coverage may be? I know if the game sells well and people enjoy it, the coverage is more just noise, but it isn't some revolutionary thought that people's feelings about J.K. Rowling are going to bleed into the coverage of this game. Even though she wasn't involved at all, and it seems unfair to the developers, though I know Matty doesn't support the devs, so it's no difference to him. I hope you have my friend told me the 5 brownies I just inhaled are weed brownies kind of day. Or in theme, I just ate earwax birdie bots, every flavor jelly beans kind of day. I don't know if you've had these, Cog, but they are fucking gross. I had to do it for a video. Yeah, for a we did a series called Friendly Competition. We did challenges at the end to whoever lost. We lost this game of Overcooked, so we ate these beans, and there's a part where I like gag and spit on my friend's floor, even though we're in a carpeted basement, because I was like heaving that much. Anyway, Cog, what's the status check here on the coverage of Hogwarts Legacy? What do you anticipate right now? I feel like we have the ability to provide a kind of unique perspective before everything hits, right? Sacred Symbols is going to go after us, so they'll be able to see what happens with Hogwarts Legacy, see the coverage, discuss it. For you from the outside looking in, how fair or unfair do you expect the coverage for Hogleg to be?
I mean, I'm in a weird position because I don't have that emotional connection to this one. I understand the importance of it, and I understand. Listen, man, it's a big series, and I understand the controversy. I'm just on some just present well kind of vibe. Just present well. Let me see what you do. You see, to me, they got to win me over. I'm the guy that's like, I could do or not without it. I don't have to go crazy. I like the idea that it's being created. I like the license being used. I know it's a huge IP, but like either way, I mean, if this thing is like, I'm like, all right, cool. My backlog's so crazy, I wouldn't have had time to fit you in anyway. But if it is popping, then I'm like, okay. And so for me, graphically, I want to see it really hit. Because I thought they had, maybe I'm getting confused with another Harry Potter. Did they have an initial teaser way back?
Yeah, no? They did do a trailer, like a announcement trailer.
From what I saw, I was like, oh, okay, it looks decent. You have my attention. Now let's see you execute. Let's see if this gameplay. So what side of the fence are you on with this whole thing? I'm curious here.
Yeah, I mean, I think with it being pretty clear internally, externally, that J.K. Rowling wasn't involved in this game's development, I think any outlet that decides to let that interfere with their coverage is effectively shooting themselves in the foot and kind of looking stupid in the process. Not that I'm going to invalidate anything she did or didn't do. I don't want to sound dismissive, but I don't care about J.K. Rowling, and I don't really pay attention to what she says. So like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have an opinion on her, because I also don't really care about Harry Potter. So it just also kind of stems from that. But
you in the same boat. Okay.
Yeah. Just, but for me personally, it's like, look, if she's not involved and she did do something bad, whatever it may be, then I look at it from a point of like, she's not there. It's just the IP she made, and it's in someone else's hands. Like, if anything, it's a good thing. If anything, we should be championing the new era of Harry Potter, if you will, that is separate from J.K. Rowling. That's how I personally look at it. Otherwise, like, we got to learn as an industry to separate the art from the artist at times. I think there's a little too much conflation of the two. And, sometimes the overblowing, I'm not speaking of J.K. Rowling at this point, but like the overblowing of political views. Like, we had this kind of happen with, actually, funny enough, Hogwarts Legacy. Colin just interviewed Troy Levitt and about him exiting, but it seemed like it was indicated almost pushed out of the studio based off some videos he had on his channel. It's just like, to me, we should be able to separate those types of things and just focus on the game itself, because everyone's got different points of view in this world. And I can't imagine, the industry wants a place where everyone thinks the same. It just doesn't seem healthy.
Bro, you preach it now. Like, I 1,000%
on my soapbox.
Yes. No, don't do it. I agree 100%, man. You're on fire with that, because at the end of the day, you need those different perspectives, and we can't, otherwise we're going to end up being an assembly line, and you're going to have an assembly line of thoughts, an assembly line of the same type of game. So again, I am disconnected from JK. I mean, I don't really know what's going on there, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to judge, like you said, separate the art from the artist. I'm going to judge what's presented. If it looks cool, I'm in. If it's not, I'm not. And it's really simple for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I'm rooting for them. I hope the game looks good. Yeah, I really do. I have a lot of friends who are really excited for this one. They're huge Harry Potter fans. So
yes, I have Harry Potter. This is huge for them. So like, part of me does want to see it execute, because if they get a good game, I know they're going to be super pumped up. That community been waiting,
They have been. And it's been a while since we've seen any type of Harry Potter game since the movie tie-ins. And like, this is individual, and they're saying it's like a single player RPG. Like, I'm curious for sure, because I've been looking for a way to like Harry Potter. Like, I tried to read the books last month, and I couldn't get into them, man. Like, it's just, there's fantasy for me, and then there's like grounded fantasy that has these fantastical elements that references our real world. And it's funny, right? Because I'm about to say I don't like that, but then I have Fallout where I'm like, oh, I love seeing Washington, D.C. completely disintegrated by atomic bombs. I don't know. Maybe it's because I see realism in that. I don't know. But there's definitely a hole in my logic. But I can't connect with Harry Potter. So I'm hoping this game does the trick, because I can, put those characters to the side and just be me.
You're going to get your Slytherin on.
Yeah. Apparently that's where I would. I took the Harry Potter test. Like, what house would you go to? And I was Ravenclaw is what it was. Not
Ravenclaw. Okay.
Ravenclaw.
Salute.
Yeah.
Salute.
All right, number 3 goes to Vonaran. Hey, Dukes. Phil Spencer went on Xbox Era's podcast this week. By the way, salute to Xbox Era. That's a huge move there. Congrats to them.
Salute to those dudes, man. Shout out to John and Special Nick. Salute to those guys.
He didn't flinch at the future releases coming to this year for Starfield and Redfall. Let's presume the placeholder dates are set in stone. Starfield is the Q4 game, and Redfall is the Q2 summer game. Now let's speculate irresponsibly. How badass would Xbox be if at E3 they start to stealth drop Redfall on Game Pass early? This could raise the stakes for Game Pass announcements moving forward, and Xbox seems to enjoy those types of get hype moments with Halo's early release. On a serious note, Phil reflected on the lack of a game this Q1. So, what's the Q3 game? Is it State of Decay 3? What do you think, Cog? Do you think that... I don't know if this year Xbox has the answer. I would love to see that, but I just, even... We'll talk about it in a little bit, but even with this spring showcase, they didn't show a ton of stuff happening now. I don't think they can force the answer right now, is my kind of read on the situation, but that hopefully, and we've said this for Xbox for years, that next year, that's where we get the Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, all big games, like staple exclusives. One of them out of their control, right? With what happened with Stalker, but it was delayed first, and then the war in Ukraine happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is your read on what's going on here with Q2 and 4 kind of being set in stone, like Phil didn't blink, but Q3 being empty? Do you think they try to plug that hole?
Yeah, they're gonna have to figure something out and get creative. But again, the Dukes called this. We called it. We told Dukes, said Dukes is popping bottles, right? 2021, we get it. You see the accolades, you see the best Metacritic, all well deserved. 2021, you had a phenomenal year. But now 2022 at that top, right? And we heard the rumors of Redfall, right? Salute to Phil for standing on his square.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems, okay, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But and we know we're going to talk Starfield for sure.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? We know, yeah, we gonna talk Starfield. But yeah, like I do think it just may be one of those situations. I'm not making any excuses. Where it's just they're gonna have to patchwork this thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have to patchwork it. They're gonna have to use those Game Pass, what you call, like, third party deals where you get stuff in and you bring people in. And you're just gonna have to do that to kind of circumvent this situation, because if Stalker, I think they were really banking on Stalker.
I think
right?
so too.
Yeah, Stalker, because think about how hard they promoted it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then Stalker's got their issues going on besides the Unreal stuff. It's a lot going on. So again, no excuses. They have to plug the holes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very curious though, Matty, with Redfall's release.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not going against Phil. I'm just saying I see what my man has said it on Vonerin. I see what he's saying. It would be cool. Hey, I'd take a summer stealth release, day and day, do a Halo situation if it's ready.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to see it. That's all. I just need to see it.
Yeah. My theory is maybe we don't get Redfall in Q2, because we had reported, like we had heard, hey, this might slip a little bit. We didn't say slip out of the year. We said it might slip a little bit. Right. What if that's the Q3 game? Because remember how they masked some of the holes here in the beginning of the year? Announcements, right? How do you mask an empty summer in Q2? You got the summer showcase, make announcements. Here's what's coming next, right? And then Redfall Q3. You got Starfield Q4. I think they're going to fill it out with other things, but I think in the terms of major, like right now, for those who don't understand, we're talking like major first party titles,
first party
third party publisher exclusives. That type of stuff we're looking at. I'm sure they'll fill in the gaps.
Nothing.
Yeah, they'll fill the gaps with indies.
And let me, for the record, that's where people also run with these narratives and like clipping stuff. Mm-hmm. There's games, right? Mm-hmm. We're talking about from the first party, maybe exclusive or big AAA third party Game Pass deals, like what Matty is talking about. Yeah. Of course, you're going to see the tunics, you're going to see the Game Pass deals, you're going to see all that stuff. We're talking about this other stuff to kind of compensate with the Starfields and the Redfalls. That's what we're talking about.
Let's move on to number 4. I thought this was interesting because I had forgotten about this game. Fink Miser writes in, howdy Dukes. What happened to Warhammer 40k Darktide? It was announced as an Xbox console exclusive at the Series S and X reveal event with a planned release in 2021. Fat Shark announced that they were delaying the game until spring 22, and then radio silence. Should we expect Darktide this spring or a last-minute delay into fall or winter? Have a you slept through your alarm and your shift starts in 5 minutes kind of day. So I put these back to back because I saw the question. I saw this afterwards. I was like, there were things that were in the tank that seemingly could have plugged this hole here, and they're not coming through either. So I found this really in particular interesting. Do you even remember Warhammer 40k Darktide?
Yeah,
This is from the team Fat Shark. For those who don't remember, they made Vermintide, which is this very awesome Left 4 Dead style game, very medieval. You're taking a bunch of rats. Yeah,
I played
so fun. And this was their kind of spiritual successor to that, if you will, in Darktide. They had guns in it and stuff. It looked like a really good time. And it was a console exclusive. Like, it was actually a pretty big announcement. And it's gone on radio silence. So, Cog, what's the expectation with this one? This could be the answer in the spring, right? Or is it the Q3 answer?
That's the question, right? And here's the thing that I'm noticing. If you really look at it now, Matty, that third-party showcase, and I'm not blaming Microsoft or anything, but if you really look at it, a lot of those console exclusive games have not released because of delays or whatever. I think about this. I think about what is it? Bright Memory. That was another one. There were like 3 or 4 titles. Exo Mecha. That was another one. Like that. Now we're getting, this is delayed or whatever. Now again, this would be a nice, addition if it's ready. I checked the Twitter account. Not much updates. I mean, we're getting close to spring. We're spring-ish now. Yeah. So I want to know what's going on, or will there be another delay? And then here's the other thing too: we got to be real. I know the tendency is to kind of rag on management of certain things. We're going to give things their proper attention. But I also want to be clear is that the game industry as a whole is affected by COVID, is affected by what's going on in the world too. And I'm starting to see a pattern across the industry in general. We're starting to see more delays across the board, all platforms. We're starting to see it, kind of thing. So I'm not, taking them off the hook or whatever, but I'm just saying like, I am starting to see more trends with a lot of these major releases.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
And for the record, for those who don't know, Fat Shark is located in Stockholm, Sweden. So I don't believe they're impacted by anything happening in Ukraine. So it seems like a COVID-like delay here. And
that's what I meant. Yeah, the pandemic stuff.
Yeah, this could definitely be this could be the answer for the summer. Like a nice stealth drop. This is a 4-player co-op game, very much like Vermintide. So it'll be a good release for them when they get it out the door finally for Xbox. I mean, but it's just a matter of when, I guess. But thank you, Finkmiser, for writing in and reminding us this game exists.
Yes, salute.
Cole Helgerson with some pretty interesting perspective here, and then we'll get into the news. Hey, Duke boys, does Xbox have the worst luck when it comes to third-party marketing deals? The games that come to mind recently are Fallout 76, Cyberpunk 2077, and Battlefield 2042. All 3 of those games launched in a broken or incomplete state and are now infamous in their own ways. Is Xbox cursed, or do they have a bad game evaluation process with their third-party partners? Which 22 game will earn the Xbox marketing curse? Is it like the Madden curse or the cover athlete always gets hurt? Yeah. And I'd like to add on to this, by the way, that Xbox also teamed up for Anthem.
Bro, you saw about I was going to say Anthem. I was literally going to say Anthem, bro. Oh, and I remember it like it was yesterday, man. I was in that. I was like, yo, this is a big get. Wow. King spoke to Phil about this. That's the time Phil got
this.
Yeah, you had a chance to speak to him. He's like, yo, bro, Anthem, what's up? So you end your show with Anthem, that kind of deal. And Phil made his comment as to why from a business standpoint. But Cole, much as I hate to admit these things, and I don't really play into superstitions, they got a lot of Mets energy.
They do.
They got a lot
find a way to lose.
Yeah, listen, love the platform, love the brand. They've been on fire with 2021, but for whatever reason, I can't call it, bro. It's like whatever they attach themselves with, like Cyberpunk felt like a slam dunk.
Yeah, right.
You can't.
Same with Battlefield, honestly.
Like I can't get mad at the decisions, right? And when you look at it on paper, you like CD Projekt Red's new game is going to be marketed by us. Battlefield, the Battlefield everybody wants, marketed by us. Anthem, this amazing looking Destiny killer with mechs, bait Iron Man the game. Yeah. Like it fit Fallout 70, the makers of, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, it on paper, I understand. And then we get close to release, and you're like, why is all day joints the debacles? Like it'd be debacles. You'd be like, oh man. It's Mets energy. It's ninth inning dropping a pop up. You know those Mets when you like, yo, any other team, the game's over, but here come the Mets.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so perfect.
You know what it is to be a Met. That's what it feels like sometimes with the marketing deals that. For whatever reason, something happens, and I don't know what is. Now I'm trying to let's put some positive energy out.
Okay.
Now last year, the one that gonna that's why everything is critical when we gonna get to the Starfield section. We're gonna talk about that, but I'm trying to think. I mean, what third party thing that they market? I'm trying to get them a W here or the third party marketed game. I mean, MLB The Show, kind of. I guess.
Yeah.
That was a win. That was a big W.
I think I'm looking at like upcoming games right now, trying to think of like what could become a win. I'm like, I think a Plague Tale Requiem. That seems like a pretty safe. Is it a big budget, a big marketing campaign? No, but I think it seems like a pretty good association to have. I'm looking at other games here. What's the read on Soul Hackers 2?
I ain't really hear much, bro. I mean, and again, like we talking home runs, not doubles and singles.
Yeah.
We need I have to give Cole this on the home run AAA game that's third party. For whatever reason, when they get the marketing right, again, not saying that they're doing anything. It just seemed like a stretch of bad luck happens, and it's not a product that releases well, or something happens.
So. Man, I'm looking at some of the games coming out this year that just don't have release dates, and there's just so much stuff that I'm very excited for, and I'm remembering exists. Marvel Midnight Suns, for example. I just scrolled by that. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope.
Yeah.
Not Dead or Alive, but Destroy All Humans 2 remake.
Yeah.
It's just some really good stuff on the horizon. But I thought this was a good food for thought here by
Cole. Good one.
So
good catch by Cole.
With that, we get into the news now. We got a really exciting week and an interesting one to start it all off. So let's get into it. Number one. During E3 2018, Xbox announced the opening of a brand new studio built from the ground up called The Initiative. The new studio would eventually reveal their first game is Perfect Dark. The self-defined trait given by the employees of this studio was agile, as the size floated around 80 or so employees and would embrace a more collaborative nature compared to standard video game development. During late September of 2021, this new first-party studio would reveal that they are teaming up with Crystal Dynamics, the developers responsible for the Tomb Raider franchise and Marvel's Avengers, to complete the project in unison. Many reports flooded in, washing away all skeptics, as it was being claimed that the idea behind the initiative was to form prototypes for games and effectively pitch them to teams to handle the grunt work, if you will. However, with a new report arriving via outlet Video Game Chronicle, there may be more to this deal than some had anticipated. For starters, the team of 80-plus employees has now plummeted below 50, a staggering rate of employee exits. These aren't nobodies either. They are people in senior positions: the game director, design director, lead level designer, principal world builder, 2 senior system designers, technical director, tech art director, lead gameplay engineer, lead animator, QA lead, and many more. All these positions have been vacated, as verified through LinkedIn profile listings, and analysts suggest that the studio has only managed to hire 12 more people in the last 12 months. VGC spoke to many former employees and has said that a lack of creative autonomy and slow development process drove many to their exit. The development hierarchy was said to be very much top-down, where all decisions had to cross the desk of studio director Daryl Gallagher and former game director Daniel Neuberger. A sentiment expressed across all exited talent to VGC is that they are surprised by Microsoft's leniency, as not much has been completed. It is said that Crystal Dynamics was brought in to circumvent the leadership issues, as the studio was formerly run by Gallagher, where there would be a familiarity to his methods. Now, Crystal Dynamics will play a bigger part as they have to plug the gaps left behind Now, Crystal Dynamics will play a bigger part as they shall plug the gaps left behind by these former employees, and it is believed by VGC sources that the game has now faced a soft reboot thanks to that. Gallagher had this to say for himself when asked for comment, quote, "It's no small task to build a studio and reinvent a beloved franchise. In creating the initiative, we set out to leverage co-development partnerships to achieve our ambitions, and we're really excited about all the progress we're seeing with our relationship with Crystal Dynamics. In this journey, it is not uncommon for there to be staffing changes, especially during a time of global upheaval over the last 2 years. And there's plenty more work in front of us to deliver a fantastic Perfect Dark experience to our players. We wish all of our former colleagues the very best, and I'm confident in the team we have in place, the new talent joining, and we can't wait to share more with the fans," end quote. So, with that, let's move on to some write-ins. I want to start off with Phil Walker, who says, "Hey Dukes, with the recent news coming out of the initiative, how does Xbox sort out this problem of managing teams? 343 Industries trickling out content at a painfully slow rate, Rare showing off projects before they even know what they are and then going dark, etc. I understand they are trying to promote a healthy work culture, but it's clear that something's not working on some level. If you run a sandwich shop and you can only make a couple of sandwiches a day, it's not a good business. Doesn't matter if your staff is happy. Work has to get done. We have many examples recently of quality AAA feature complete games releasing with no reports of backbreaking crunch like Ratchet and Horizon. Are Xbox scared in the current anti-crunch climate to crack the whip and get things moving? Obviously, I don't want people to suffer, but something has to give here. Have a just hung the laundry out, left the house, and suddenly it begins to rain kind of day." So, Cog, this is easily our number one, as this is one of those games that's on that list. We always talk about the future for Xbox. Like, this is one of them. This is one of the big games that is really dotting out the next 2-year window, was presumed for Xbox, right? Like 2024, we're going to have Perfect Dark. Not looking like that's the case. And there's trouble on the home front here. Now, what's interesting is, I know you and I had made a DDU exclusively about this topic when they announced that Crystal Dynamics was joining up with the initiative to talk about that situation. We had Jeff Grubb on the same week to talk about that more. And we both had expressed this kind of understanding of, okay, if this is just to collaborate, get the job done, but now it seems like there was a trade-off and that the autonomy really wasn't there. So start wherever you'd like. What's the read on the situation?
Wow, this is breaking the internet right now, man, and rightfully so. And there's two schools of thoughts here. I actually don't think either is incorrect. Because here's the thing. You know me, Cog is nuanced. I need to get as much information as possible before I make outright definitive statements on what's going on in that building, because I don't 100% know, right? I can only go by what I see, what's reported. This is what we can go by right now. All right. Here's my thing. When we first heard of them, right? Small team, build prototype, outsource out, right? And then even that small team, this was kind of like the who's who, Matty. Like these were some all-star names, right? These were some, I remember back then you hear the signings. This person worked on, Sony Santa Monica. This part, I'm like, oh, okay. Yo, this is like, and that's part of the reason why the quadruple A narrative started to really accelerate, right? Because it's like, yo, look at these names. This game's going to be crazy because they're not playing. They're opening the checkbook. Good. So then you hear about that, right? And what I think about was when we heard the Crystal Dynamics thing initially. It was like, hey, there was a part of us, Matty, that go,
I was very loud on that one, yeah.
We like, why you need to bring Crystal Dynamics in? Like, what's going on? And then we were told, just to execute that's the vision. These are guys, obviously, Crystal Dynamics, they know Daryl Gallagher's vision. They're going to execute. Okay, cool. But now we're seeing the after effect of this. And to me, this is the correlation for me. I can only speculate that based on Crystal Dynamics coming in, it is clear they have a relationship with Daryl Gallagher and the way he works and what he wants, right? What's concerning to COG, to me, is the senior level, the volume of the senior level exit. I can understand one or two, hey, creatively, we may not all be on the same box here, right? And all right, you know what? I ain't really with this. But this is a lot of people. like this ain't just one or two, right? This is literally now a senior group that has kind of, again, I'm guessing, I don't know in the building, the feeling is they've put their flag down and like, nah, fam, we're not feeling that. We're not happy with the direction or conditions or whatever, right? And they are moving on, right? So that leads me now to believe, okay, Daryl Gallagher, on one positive side, is really running this ship because Daryl Gallagher, it's his way or the highway. That's the vibe I got. Again, I'm just speculating. This is what, as of right now, with the information that we are recording with right now, yeah, it reads like it's going his way. So there's a part of me, Matty, that does like that, right? That does like that he is taking control and like, nah, we doing this. But here's the problem. And for the people on the other side, right? This is where I got to empathize with them. It's like, yo, bro, why is this happening, right? Why does it, the feeling is that your studios, Xbox Game Studios, feels like it only seems to be happening to you. Again, we talked about Mets energy. Like, we don't generally hear a lot. Like, not saying it doesn't happen. It does happen in other places, right? Game development is hard. And the last point I'll say before I give it to you, because I got a lot of thoughts here, and I don't want to ramble.
Please take as long as you want.
Is that I think about Mark Darrow, who we had on that amazing DDU.
Available for free.
And he available for free right now. Go check that out. It's amazing on game development. And what he said was so key. Was like, You'd rather have a small team so that you know what the core essence of your game is. Because the minute you start bringing in 1,000 people, and he's got an excellent video right now out. It's called The Light in the Darkness, a flare in the darkness, right? And basically it's talking about management and development leadership and how when you have these big teams, that the teams are so big, not everyone truly knows what they're compartmentalized. They don't, each one deals in the pocket, right? So the leader's job is to make sure that vision, for the most part, because you're not going to be in direct communication with the guy six rungs down the line, right? So, but as long as that flare, that presentation, that scope of what perfect dark is disseminated. So the only thing I could speculate is that Gallagher got a vision. He, in his mind, perfect dark is going to be X, Y, and Z way with Joanna. Apparently, the dissemination, for whatever reason, mismanagement, whatever reason, ain't get down to senior level that's doing the other stuff, and senior level is in non-agreement, it feels like. So there's a lot of questions here. Is it Microsoft's too lenient? Microsoft's not letting them do, Microsoft's not checking, right? Cracking the whip. Then there's the other side, which is what the writing said. Is it a situation they're fearful? Because let's be honest, this crunch culture, Microsoft has acquired Activision. Microsoft has acquired very questionable things that they've got to regulate, and all eyes are on them. So they don't want to be the evil Microsoft that's like, hey, get out there and make those games. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot going on here. I don't know. This is fascinating to me. I will say this. This news, I was like, wow. What is going on? Like, I don't know. Matty, I'm giving it to you. I got more thoughts. What do you think is happening here?
It's really hard to pick a point to start because there's so many avenues. I think I want to start with the bottom, or I'm sorry, the top down approach, because it does tailor a bit off on what you were talking about. Where they're saying pretty much everything has to cross the desk of Daryl Gallagher and at one point Daniel Newberger, and that's how decisions are made. And I'll talk about this in a little bit because we did get a write-in about it, but I don't always talk about making my game just to remind people. I talk about it because I know it may be a bit annoying for some at times because I don't have anything to show for it, but I think kind of like what Mark Dara does, I think there's not enough people who are just willing to pass on the knowledge that they learn. Like, I'm not acting like an expert, but I would say I've learned a lot and I know a lot about game development now. And if there's one thing I learned as someone who's creative lead of my game, it's that I had a vision, right? And the importance of conveying the vision cannot be overstated because everyone is not in your brain. You have to put the visual examples down and explain how everything's going to connect and create a hierarchy and make it make sense for an art director, make it make sense for a programmer. That's, by the way, way harder than it sounds. Like, oh, just tell them this happens. I don't know how to explain it other than it's just way more difficult than it actually appears to be.
Preach.
So you got to get your vision. And that's where the small team is at its best. That's where the excitement and initiative really stemmed from for me, was like, as I learned more about game development, I heard what they were doing. I was like, that is perfect. Like, keeping it small. And then when you've got the idea, execute it, everyone understands it, put the prototype together with this team big enough to do so, and hand it to someone to build with that tool set. But if there's one thing I learned, it's that, number one, shifts in design late are never good, because instead of building with the Lego set you got, you buy a new Lego set, and that takes time off of development, big time. And obviously there's a ticking clock for every game. No one ever wants to admit that. Everyone's pro delay, but there's a window for every game. And Cyberpunk's a living and breathing example of that. Like, there's a time to release. And when you look at what happened with their next gen update, it was not, I can promise you, it's not the pop they were looking for. Like, they were in one ear, out the other. That was exciting for a couple of days, and that was really it. But back to my point, and then I'll get into less game devy talk, is conveying your vision as a designer is so important, because if you do that properly, then you don't need to do what Daryl has to do here, which is everything's got to cross the desk. Projects move on a lot quicker in ways that will be in line with your vision if you've conveyed that properly. But when you're crossing every T, dotting all the I's, nitpicking everything, I'm not saying that's what Daryl's doing, but there's a potential for that bottlenecks the production of the game. And you have days where, like, the art director might be just sitting there twiddling his thumbs for 8 hours doing nothing for the game. And that's not good to get the game out in time. Like, again, one thing that, with the Star interview that he put probably better than I ever could is completion urgency is a thing. Game development can slow to a crawl like that, like just in a snap. You can just lose momentum, and it's important to have completion urgency weekly. So for me, looking at this, like that is the number one example of what's going wrong here. Is they promoted autonomy. The reports are saying they're not allowing people to direct the creation. And the other aspect here on the other side of the fence is, we mentioned all the all-star names. This is what happens when you got too many chefs in the kitchen, like too many people who really
could be.
I hate to sound like a dick, but I got to say it. Think what they say matters. Like, think what they have to add to the game must be there. Why are Ubisoft games such a mess? It's because everyone has to have their own level of input. And some people just got to accept, you got to do the grunt work. You just got to program the thing. You just got to put together the level. You can't put your own flavor in there. And I'm sorry, that sucks to hear, but that is the reality. And when you got so many senior heads here who are used to just, I'm guiding this, and everyone's got that mindset.
See my resume?
Yeah, right? I'm qualified, and I'm sure all these people are qualified. That's the problem. There's too many chefs in the kitchen, and there's not that honor, respect, if you will, from my reading here, to say okay, we're going to let you make these calls, or this set of people make these calls, and we'll work with whatever we get there.
You on fire again. Matty's on fire. The beast on fire. Because literally, this is something that happens in big corporate, bro. Sometimes it's just too many collaborators. A lot of people want to take credit for stuff. A lot of people want to say, hey, my track record, I did X, Y, and Z, right?
It's an ego.
And there's a part of me, right? There's a part of me, because you said it, what Mark said, at some point, from the completionist standpoint, at some point, you've got to present deliverables, right? Yes. You've got to say, okay, all-star team, right? Where are we at with whatever level design? I'm making stuff up. Where are we at with point A, point B, point C of perfect art, right? So my hope is that that maybe there's a good thing. Not saying that there is. It could be a mess. It could be. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But my hope is that Daryl's like, yo, all right, where we at? Nope, this is not the scope that I envisioned, that we initially, whatever. And maybe, listen, people, if it's that level of senior people in that building, and he got the keys, dudes be like, yo, I ain't got to take that. I'm going over. I can go get a bag at such and such and do what I want to do. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. And it could be that going on. The thing that I agree with you, though, that I have to be honest. I'm with you, though, in the timing of it. Because now the appearance is that it will be a soft reboot on some level, right? Yeah. The other thing is, and again, now this is heavy speculation now, is the Crystal Dynamics portion. Because we do know he's got those relationships. So, and to his credit, right, he has made some games that are well-renowned. This is Mr. Tomb Raider. This is
when he was heading up. Crystal Dynamics was their best era. They were doing the great Tomb Raider games.
So we gotta be respectful
100%.
On his vision in the sense of what his resume say, right? So all I will say is maybe it's a situation. I'm really speculating now. Maybe it's like a work to hire situation. Like, all right, cool. I got the dudes that really know how to make these games pop. You know what I'm saying? And here's the team. Here we're going to execute. The key in all of this, though, none of this matters if this game does not land. There will be pressure on him. This game has to land now because you did all this, right? People want to say, okay. And the people that left are going to be like, okay.
Yeah.
The last thing I think of, and we'll move on because we got another follow-up question that's amazing, is people got to understand. I understand, rightfully so. Look at Microsoft, come at them hard. I get it. Why is this happening? Mets energy. Why is this happening to you? Why this is all? I get it. Come for them. I'm not saying do not come for them. You can. In this case, absolutely. It's warranted. The execution, but also, bro, game development is hard, y'all.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Yeah.
I remember the God of War Game of the Year 2018 stories. I listen. People, see, the thing is, until Microsoft gets a positive result, no one's going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And rightfully so. They got to earn it. So again, Perfect Dark, you got to be fire now.
Mhm.
Because they gonna come to you and say, yo, remember? Because all I think about is 2018. I remember when the controversy back then was, what do you mean Kratos doesn't have a jump button?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I remember the stories
I
of
remember
my
not
man,
liking how close the camera was and thinking that game was going to be like,
bro. And Corey stuck to his vision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comparing Gallagher to Baller. I'm not doing it. I'm just saying how sometimes you can stick to a vision that initially, because even from what I heard, Colin and guys could correct me if I'm wrong. I recall stories of him presenting God of War development and Sony brass like, that ain't it, fam. Go back to the drawing board or whatever, right? So we got to see how this thing plays out. This is a fascinating story. We got more questions. We're going to get into it.
I think what we're hitting the nail on the head with is the importance of if Gallagher does do this right, that there is a pushback in this industry of the idea of having a clear, defined leader. We've seen terms get tossed around now like auteur in just these bullshit ways. And we just need to understand like there is an order. It doesn't mean that he can boss people around, be a dick, but like there is an order of operations to make the business work. And I don't know if that's always going to be friendly. It's a passionate project. Like arguments are going to happen. Let's get to that second question. We can continue this a little bit further.
Fire.
Lucius Augustus writes in, hello, Crystal Dukes. The initiative has lost about half of their staff, some leaving to work on smaller projects, some returned to Sony, some went to Microsoft's other studios. The Crystal Dynamics partnership a few months ago shows why the initiative needed the extra legwork when some of their development backbone started to falter. This has many questioning the initiative and their ability to deliver a great game. Naughty Dog lost over 70% of their entire staff of hundreds of people during the development of The Last of Us Part 2. Sony Santa Monica famously had a terrible time with God of War 2018's development. Even the original Perfect Dark was full of developmental issues that had a large amount of its staff leave. All three were able to deliver a great product that fans loved. Do you think the initiative can pull this same thing off? That's something that it was a sentiment that I echoed throughout my whole video on this, was the idea that this is concerning on a building a studio level. I'll talk about that in a moment, but this to me does not sound like we need to immediately assume this game is in a terrible spot and it's going to be bad. Is it encouraging news? No, and I don't like that a lot of Xbox fans were trying to just wash their hands of it and be like, this is nothing. I'm like, half the studio's almost left, bro. Yeah. Like, let's call it as it is. This isn't good news, right?
Right.
But what's happening here that I'm looking at is effectively we have the leader of a former studio keeping his ways. Talent is leaving because of that, and his old studio has gravitated towards that, where I'm like, at this point, why isn't Xbox? Why didn't they just buy Crystal Dynamics, right? Like, why are you trying to build this new studio?
They got to show it. Yeah. I'm with you. I think that's the play. Me and you've called this. It makes sense, right?
It's looking like it makes way more sense now.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. All I was going to say is just that the vibe I get from Microsoft now is that we work with you once at least just to see how this thing goes, and then potentially acquire after. And that's why I say it's critical for them to execute this thing. But it makes perfect sense. And we know damn well Square ain't got nothing to do with them. The fact that Square is like, go over there, we'll take we already know. So it goes back to your point, with that relationship, as far as if half of people leaving and you bring in this other half that you worked with, that's a statement visually to me. That's a statement, but continue.
No, I just find it interesting that for you to build a studio, you have to establish a culture and say, like, this is what the initiative is. And it looks like in the midst of making this game and the vision of Perfect Dark, that culture they were trying to establish for the initiative changed. And a lot of people left because it seems like there was a promise broken again. There's, this isn't just like BioWare where like 2 people left. Oh, another person left this month later. It's like 30 plus people have left. It's a lot. And they were in lead positions. Those aren't just holes you plug in. You're like, oh, it's just a gameplay programmer. It's like the lead gameplay programmer, the guy who was like spearheading the whole thing. Yeah. Key's gone, right? Yeah. That type of mindset. So that's what they should. I think that's where I can't act like I could have predicted this, but I can say with certainty, because I got a ton of friggin' pushback for it, I was very skeptical of this partnership. When I saw it happen, I'm like, this doesn't make sense for a first-party studio. And I remember it clear as day because the day after my dog passed away, because I was in a foul fucking mood on Twitter. So I know I was not representing myself as well as I typically try to. But my point had originally stood. I was like, something's off about this. This doesn't make sense. And I'm still pro, like, yo, if you're going to make prototypes and you're going to create these partnerships and ship a ton of games, love that. Like, I'm all for that. But when I start to see this, I'm like, well, you guys haven't even established your identity in full. You know, is this a ride or die crew now? It's like, hey, if you're not with us, you're against us. Get out. And I'm not saying that's what Daryl Gallagher is saying, but is that the vibe here that everyone who's stuck around is like, I'm with you, Daryl. I'm with what the initiative's about.
Bro, it happens. It happens in corporate, man. I'm telling you, like, there again, I highly advise anyone who's listening to this Defining Duke, listen to our Defining Duke Ultimate with Mark Dara about video game, and then go to his channel. He did a great YouTube. I gotta give him a plug. It's called like Old Game Dev Advice. I think that's the YouTube channel. That's him, and he's spitting bars. And the thing is, what can happen is internally, if that flare, it's called the flare in the darkness, if that flare of what the vision of perfect dark is not disseminated all the way through, right? So that the core is retained and you just hiring names and you just getting big talent. But if they are not sticking to the mission, you can now have another pocket where it's like, leadership don't know what it's doing. Daryl Gallagher don't know what it is. The perfect dark should be this way.
We got to bring a sports angle into this, because what do the best teams have, right, Cog? When you assemble a squad of superstars and you watch them go and get bumped in the second round of the playoffs, you're like, why did this happen? You've got a bunch of superstars. I'm talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Why are you guys getting bumped from the first round constantly? It's because you don't have role players that embrace that they're like, I'm a third line player. I'm a fourth line player. I'm your depth guy. I just feel like, if my read of this situation is the industry doesn't do that enough, and the best games do understand that there might be an ego in that, right? Like, you always can't be the superstar. Remember what I said? Hey, look, you're talking to the right guy. Remember what I said? I took it personally. Defining Duke numbers dropped off. You know, my mental was not in the right place. Like, why not me? Why not? It's not just me. It's a team effort. It's COG. It's Last Stand. It's not just me, right? Chemistry matters. And the reason we're really hammering this point home, again, I normally wouldn't be so impassioned about it, but I just see such a vast misunderstanding across the internet and a lot of hand waving at it. A lot of hand waving at it. I'm like, this isn't normal on a development level. It's not normal on a people level. It's not normal for the game. Like, this isn't good. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the game's going to be bad, but none of this is good.
I agree. No, brother, well said. That's literally, you know, the vibe I was going, and vision, chemistry, all of that important to the game. And I am not poo-pooing. A lot of people left, and it's a bad look optically, regardless. Even if this game ends up being great, it's a bad look from the optics, because people are going to say it's like the bad team that hasn't won, right? You know, Tampa Bay was all good. You know, they were laughing stock for a long time until you win the chip. Until they win a chip and get a great product out, this talk will not stop. And Microsoft as a whole, I still going to give them a little jab in here, has to do a better job of controlling these type of situations as best as they can. Because at the end of the day, no one's giving you the benefit of the doubt, bro. You don't have God of War. You don't have The Last of Us. You don't have Ghost of Tsushima. You don't have that, right? Outside of, you know, Big Mac, large fries, and shake, which we know, those are cool. But out of your new IP of your studios, for the most part, until we see a Starfield or whatever, all these, a Hellblade and until those come out and they hit critically, you are going to continue to get the smoke that when people hear news like this, they're going to say, oh, there it goes, same old Mets, same old Xbox. See, that's what people are going to say. You have to control the narrative. I'm rooting for them, but this is all valid stuff. This is a great topic, and I'm very curious to see what happens. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. The last thing I just wanted to toss out there, this would really, I guess, be an answer to Phil's write-in, but what do you think about Microsoft's just general leniency? Because I know you were kind of going on about that right there, but what I mean is this a cultural issue? Sounds a little too severe, but is the mindset not right when they gotta, get them whipped into shape? I think 343 is the current standing best example of a team that Xbox, let's really face it, they kind of let them flounder for 3 full releases and technically a 4th now with Halo Infinite, where Halo Master Chief Collection, one of the biggest botches that we've ever seen. Halo 4, this one didn't really go as far as the Halo franchise should have. Halo 5 speaks for itself. And then Halo Infinite is a game that everything should have been on the table for that. What do you need? What do you need? We need to keep the content rolling. You need more hires. What do you need? Because right now, our future flagship Elder Scrolls, our future flagship Starfield, Hellblade, Fable, that's the future. We need this now. They should have been all in on that, and they never were. And it's like, you've allowed them to flounder. You've allowed them to continue to mess up and trip up. Do you think they're hesitant to get the bad PR of being kind of strict leadership? Because again, this is where the messaging issues that we've talked about kind of fall into place, because it's almost poetic where we see this report and then you see something like, they'll answer to me, CEO of Microsoft Gaming, Phil Spencer, in reference to acquiring Activision, like beating his chest, like, you're coming to me after this, right? And I get that was more a statement about Bobby Kotick, but really or as Jess would say, Robert. But they've allowed these companies to, specifically 343, to toss and turn, and I think so a guiding hand could be appreciated. But at the same time, before I pass it to you, is there interference, maybe something that could go the other way, could not help? I just feel like there's got to be a fatherly duty here, right? You own this team. You got to come in and help fix it. What's your read on that? And then we'll move on to the next news bit.
Look, this is great talk, man. I love having the hard conversations, the difficult talks. You got to have those real ones every once in a while. You got to embrace it, man. And it's like, what's the old sports analogy? You are what your record says you are. You just are. And until your first party, again, not the, obviously we know the Obsidians, we know these other guys have track records and stuff like that, but your first part, the ones that kind of were the 343s, obviously Coalition fits in that, I'll give Playground to an extent. No, Playground got to cut a little bit, but the core before the 2018, buying shopping spree and acquisition thing, that's what I feel here. And the initiative is going to get lumped into that because this is your home team, it
wasn't like inherited in the middle of something.
Right.
Like this is
there's no inheritance. This is you, right? You're building from the ground up, right? So your record is what it is, and right now, whether we're going to include Rare in that or not, it's just not it right now. We just got to call it what it is. It's just not it. So it's improved. We've seen 343 finally execute and land a great core Halo game on both sides of the ball, right? But then we're seeing the floundering with the monetization, the content drip, so on and so forth, and then someone had to be bringing it. With this, again, until they execute, people are going to say it. And I don't know what else to really say on the subject, except that if it comes down to your question of a Matt Booty, so to speak, right? Because technically that, in theory, should be his job. I don't know for a fact, but in theory, he's now manager, head of Xbox Game Studios. It's not Phil, right? It's Matt Booty now. Matt Booty took Phil's old job, right? So if it means coming in the building and making sure things get popping, then it is what it is. But they're in a tough spot because the problem is, like you said, the climate. The climate right now and crunch and making sure, there's good development treatment. And Microsoft is concerned about their PR. Make no mistake. They're very concerned. That means a lot to them. They want to be perceived a good way, right? They don't, especially you see, report to me, Phil Spencer, Robert, what I'm saying? You've seen the statements, you've seen the visual of the Activision Blizzard with a lot of the female leadership visually presented to show you we care about that. They're always in front of accessibility. They're always in front of racial issues and diversity. And they care about that perception,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're onto something, and maybe it could be, if there is an issue, maybe it could be if we come in there with the whip, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we are going to be perceived as the crunch guys, and we don't want that. But then at the other hand, the game quality does that suffer, right? So it's a tough spot. They got to figure it out.
And,
Game development is not easy. I'm not trying to make it
not.
like all they got to do, and I'm not on that bag because
Yeah.
I don't make games.
Yeah.
But it's clear there's something, there's some disconnect, there's something going on that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, just an urgency to finish the game. That's all we're asking for, because it just doesn't look like that's happening outside of. I really feel like outside of Starfield, like I'm not getting that vibe. Starfield and Hellblade are the two games that come to mind where I'm like, it feels like we're getting somewhere with these games. But otherwise, it just feels very, very loosey goose. It really does. And of course, that tune can change and come out in a different rhythm if suddenly at E3 they got a lot more to show. But right now, it just, yeah, I think this news is also hurt a bit by how quiet things are right now.
Last point, sports, you love it. Will pawn energy, right? Will pawn energy. Like sometimes Will pawn had to get out the building, right? And then Cohen came in, and it's feeling different.
Yeah.
Right? It's feeling, you know what I'm saying? And maybe we're in that transitionary phase where from 2018 to 2019, I mean, you know, from that point, and then from this year, as far as 2022, excuse me, second half, where that Steve Cohen energy now is the fruits of it kick. But from before on, I guess.
Still so much to really talk about, think about, but we'll leave it at that and move on to number 2 with the spring game spotlight. I Did Xbox teamed up with Twitch Gaming and they revealed some games. This was
fix your voice.
Yeah, it was a nice 2 hours long. So not too bad. Not too bad, but they still kept the same rhythm. I was going to stream this and I decided to choose self-love. I chose not to do it, not to sit through it. I know some of you wanted me to. I couldn't do it. So I decided, let's just pick out the highlights. Let's see my feeling afterwards coming in. And I got to say right now, I'm kind of happy I didn't sit down for this one. Because the list was smaller than I expected. So let's start off with Immortality. This is an interactive movie trilogy coming from the creator of Her Story. It's going to be exploring the footage of the lost movies of Marissa Marcel, which is going to be available day 1 on Game Pass, summer 22. Then, Cursed to Golf. This game looks awesome. It's a roguelike 2D golf game with insane power-ups. You'll fight bosses, and this is going to be published alongside Xbox. However, there is no release window. And the publishing alongside Xbox is significant because originally, when it was announced, it only said PC as well as Switch. So it looks like Xbox is helping them get it to consoles. There's Escape Academy, which is an escape room video game where you attend a school with other students to become the ultimate escape room master. And these escape rooms were designed by real escape room artists. This game is arriving in 2022. This game on paper sounded like my type of game, but when I saw the gameplay, I was less than enthused. Whalefall, tactical RPG inspired by Suikoden, Lord of the Rings, Final Fantasy. There's no release window, but I'll just leave it to the audience to check out the trailer on that one because, I really do think the models speak for themselves. This one we're going to talk about for sure. You know, we're going to go through the whole list and then we'll go back in. WrestleQuest. You mash it together pro wrestling and turn-based RPG mechanics featuring Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, and it's coming out summer 22. Tunic, which was originally just a console exclusive for Xbox, is now available on Game Pass today. This was a little bit of a surprise announcement. I think it was a smart choice because this game was not getting the marketing it deserved. Xbox. Yeah. And then the wrap-up for their show was Fellow Traveler announced 4 unique narrative games coming to Game Pass either right now or in a week or in the distant future, which are Paradise Killer. This is an open-world murder mystery game where everyone is a suspect. It's in first person. There was Kraken Academy. This is coming to Game Pass on March 22nd. I didn't mention this, but Paradise Killer is available on Game Pass right now. And in Kraken Academy, you'll join forces with a magical Kraken and disrupt a time loop, thus saving the world. Citizen Sleeper will go day 1 to Game Pass whenever it releases, and Beacon Pines will go day 1 to Game Pass whenever that releases. Cog, what's our feeling on what was showing off here at the Xbox Spring Games Spotlight? Anything stick out to you? I think I know where you're going to go, but
you know where I'm going. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I saw that WrestleQuest.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, that was speaking to my soul. That was like,
That was an
oh
awesome
yeah,
idea.
awesome, old school, and then just a unique twist. Like you
Mm-hmm.
got to make this a turn-based
Mm-hmm.
RPG, and then like when I seen the art style and the graphical direction that they went with it, simple but kind of like arcadey sprite kind of thing. And I see my little macho man. I see the like it remind me of the old arcade games I used to play and put quarters in back in the day. And there was a big game called WrestleFest that was huge. My OGs know about it. That was a huge, like 80s, 90s wrestling game. And look, this looks cool. Like it looks like a lot of potential. And I believe the dev, correct me if I'm wrong, Matty, like they made some other wrestling game. I believe this might not be their first rodeo at a wrestling game, but for whatever reason,
Yeah, I'm
this
actually
thing
not
looks
sure.
cool. Yeah, I'm not. I think I've seen that name before. I feel like I've been at a convention and I've seen that developer's name before. And I feel like they had a game out or something like that. King may know because I think he may have been, because usually we're split up into teams and I'll like some of us will just swoop, get all the indies, get the coverage, speak to the dev, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like that art style, that dev, I feel the Lords have talked to. But anyway, regardless of what, that joint is getting cop. I'm feeling that. And it was another, Wherefore kind of surprised me. Tunic is a big drop though, considering
Yeah.
right now, stealth drop, boom. That's a good look, and shout out to the OG Duke, Ryan McCaffrey. I was able to check out his coverage. He gave it a 9. He highly like he was giving off the cars agree with the energy they were giving off. He was giving off like almost like don't let the cutesiness kind of fool you, like death's door energy. And I watched, bro, it really intrigued. He said, this is not some, he said, the first 5 minutes you're gonna think it's some cutesy Zelda Link kind of thing. And he's like, oh no, we getting in. And I seen some boss fights and I was like, okay. He was highly impressed. So yeah, I think he gave it a 9. It's on my radar. It's on, look, some Game Pass. That joint getting downloaded tonight. And I want to see what's going on with that just to check it out. So yeah, Ryan sold me. I was like, okay, I'm in. I want to see what this is about.
Nice. For me, definitely WrestleQuest looks awesome, but Curse to Golf, man. There's something about these sprite-based golf games that I just look at and I'm like, yes. I'm not a big roguelike fan, but I love this idea. The developer trailers, if anyone's not seen them, go look up the trailers. They got a really good personality to them. They seem to get that they're making this very zany, different game. And I just like how they're almost implementing turn-based mechanics into this golf game and letting you explore courses, aka the procedurally generated dungeons. And there's just a lot of power-ups and stuff. This game looks great. Like I am very excited for it. So I'm going to keep my eye out for a release window because I do want to play it. WrestleQuest, of course, though. Like
Day one.
That's day one. Get me that shit in June. I am all over it.
I'm in.
That's all that's going on, though, for the Spring Games Spotlight. Let's move it on over to number 3. New Starfield details. This comes by way of another documentary-style video on the development of the Xbox exclusive launching this year. Some notes for all of you that were picked out of this trailer, and then we shall discuss. Will Shen is the lead quest designer for Starfield. This is important because he was the lead designer for Far Harbor, which I personally believe is the best Fallout 4 expansion and one of the best expansions Bethesda Game Studios ever made because it respected the role-playing. So that's important because in the next note, they talk about backgrounds, traits, defining the character, and that there will be plenty of stats in the game, that they are going back to the hardcore RPGs. This is their words, not mine, that they, quote, used to do, end quote. Got some thoughts on that.
Saw that tweet. Saw that tweet from Matty. Continue.
Oh, yeah. They said they're using photogrammetry to scan in objects for both the landscapes as they've done in the past, as well as, this is new, NPCs, so that they're more visually appealing. They provide some faction details for the United Colonies. They say the United Colonies are the ideal future of the Space Republic. Freestar Collective is the Western space fantasy type of vibe. Ryujin Industries is the megacorp, and you can actually get hired by them. And then there's the Crimson Fleet, which is a bunch of space pirates that you can join, or you could actually report them and kind of become a space cop. They provide, it's 5 seconds. It's 5 glorious seconds of your first true in-game look at Starfield. Like actually what it's going to look like when you're playing it. You see your companion Vasco, and
I did see
it looks pretty sharp, man. Last but not least, then we can dive deep into this one. There's a persuasion mini game apparently in this. They referred to elements of Oblivion, where
What
they
game was
said
that? What game was that?
Oblivion. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to know because I heard another classic, Elder Scrolls guy. I just want to make sure you heard it.
Yeah, they're not talking Fallout 3. Yeah, they're talking.
I just want to make sure you heard Skyrim and Oblivion a couple times.
Look. All I'm going to make it clear here that I did say that they were going to take inspiration more from Oblivion than anything else. Thank you very much. So they are taking elements of that, but they also said that this is not a system where there's definitely a right thing to say. And Todd Howard ended up calling it one of their most successful implementations of any changes to the dialogue they've made. So you got to think of games like Fallout 76, where they did no dialogue at all. Eventually, they added it with Wastelanders, Fallout 4, where they put the 4-button tile setup. Of course, Fallout 3 and Skyrim and all of that with the drop-down bar. So, Cog, there's a lot here, man. There's a lot here. This is their biggest update since the last trailer we got at E3. It's getting to be that time, right? When you really look at it, this year's flying by. We're probably like 3 months out from really seeing this game in earnest. What's the feel, man? What's the feel on everything that was revealed in this new trailer?
I'm break protocol, man. I'm so hyped, bro. Like, I know I shouldn't be. According to the internet, how dare I be excited? How dare I? Bro, listen, man. Look, I want to, before we even get into the game, which we going to get into, this juicy details, right? I want to quote my man, shout out to Shinobi on Twitter. He's, kind of does a lot of insider information kind of stuff.
Love Shinobi.
There's a lot of talk, right? And I get it, internet. You're so used to getting everything in every gameplay footage. I get it, right? But again, track record, history, A-Team, God Howard, put respect on his name. All we're saying is if anybody can do a rollout, to me, this rollout is refreshing. I am on the complete opposite side of the internet, which is like, they've shown nothing. I don't see why people are getting hyped because of the track record. That's why, you know what I'm saying? So here's the thing. And he got a great tweet. He was like, I get some of the Starfield frustration, skepticism, but he says just how Bethesda operates for a while. Skyrim, official trailer, February 2011, launch November. Fallout 4, reveal trailer, June 2015, launch November. I wouldn't take it as an indicator of the state of the game as far as like there's some problems or they're hiding, or it's just the way they operate. And I like it because it's like, yo, at the end of the day, instead of showing us all this other stuff, right? Use those resources, because people don't realize at game dev, those are resources to get you a model or a demo or whatever. Those are resources. I'd rather it all go into this game. Now let's get to this game. Bro, this is sounding fire. Like, I didn't know they were going to go this hardcore with it, because at first I'm like, well, maybe Outer Worlds-y. No, bro. Like, I'm hearing scopes of worlds as big as Skyrim themselves. Like, I'm hearing that kind of talk. Now you're talking persuasion system. Now you're talking the faction. Then I heard God Howard today talking about, like, when you create your character and the level, not only the decision making and how it affects things, but like they were talking morality stuff. And one thing he's like, if you want to be an inherently good character, but you with this group of pirates and how you handle yourself in that type of situation, like the flexibility in the gameplay. I also like what I heard about diversity options in the character creator options, because you know how Cog feels about that. I heard there's being extra time spent there, so that's extremely encouraging. But look, I saw the robot companion; it looked cool. I like what I like the approach they're taking. Everything that I'm reading sounds like hardcore essence Bethesda. That excites me. Then they giving us some engine improvement stuff that I'm like, oh, you give me engine. I wasn't even gonna ask for that. I was gonna be nice and be like, look, I know how y'all engines do, and I'm not expecting any graphical power. I've been very consistent with what I think this would be look like. My thing is I care about the role playing, the core essence RPG gameplay mechanics, and how you innovate the space. That matters more to me than some photorealistic look. Right? In this case, if they execute this and this thing looks good, oh boy. Yeah. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
Where you at?
So, you know, with Starfield, I'm like you. I had to break protocol for this one. I've intentionally used the words, I'm anticipating it. I can't wait to see it, but I've never used the words, I'm just excited. But seeing this and what they're saying as a longtime Bethesda Game Studios fan, I cannot
Talk your talk.
emphasize this enough that while talk is cheap in this industry, they have not talked like this in almost a decade. Like, I'm talking Skyrim days. Like, they have lost a part of themselves with Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. And that's coming from someone who loves Fallout 4. Like, that game is awesome for its own reasons, but it's not the reasons I fell in love with them. They seem to understand, which this kind of bugged me. They were saying, you know, we're going back to the old RPGs that we used to do because the industry seems ready for it. I was like, no. You guys were the reason for a while, like with Fallout 3, Oblivion, Morrowind, that people wanted, just like Elden Ring, just like The Witcher, that people wanted to get into the hardcore shit because you guys were making it. And I it's almost like they got an ego for a while, because there was I remember, and I don't know if anyone else recalls, there was a time with 76 when it launched, if no one knew if Todd Howard and the team were actually going to apologize for like the catastrophic launch that was 76.
Yeah, there was an ego period. You're right.
There was a big ego period. And like when they came out, it seemed almost like, yeah, we're sorry, you know, our bad. You know, there seemed to be a bruised ego from that point forward. This is a studio that needed to be humbled, which is weird because I don't think we've ever seen it otherwise. So that note is the only thing of frustration I experienced. I'm like, man, you guys were that team. Like, it didn't have to be everyone else. You were that team that was driving the industry. You were that team making hardcore the mainstream consistently. One of the biggest games of all time, Skyrim. That was a hardcore RPG in many ways. Not as hardcore as like Wasteland 3, of course, but it was hardcore, man. You guys, Fallout 3, like people were like, what's that? I got to get into that. I want to get over the hardcore element because that looks so cool. Anyway, I'm hoping now with that restored self-belief, they can enter a new era under Microsoft, the golden era of Bethesda, because what we're hearing, to my original point, they're saying we're doing our old hardcore business again, right? Backgrounds, traits, defining your character, plenty of stats. This is it. This is the moment, right? Like, this is what we never thought we'd hear again from them. That they are deciding, like, we're not going for accessibility. Because when you really look at what BGS did in their last two releases, it's weird because they went from hardcore, which made them popular, and they incidentally tipped into mainstream territory, even in design, like open world crafting RPG light games. And it's weird to see because it's, you know, they were doing way better for themselves, I thought, when they were making much more complex games. Like, that's what built their rep. But oh, sorry, go on. Were you saying something?
No, I agree with you. I think, to me, what happened to them is the reality, unfortunately, of the business. And I remember the commercials. What was it? The Save Player One.
Oh,
remember that initiative?
Yeah.
Like, it was a big thing.
I remember.
So, you know, like, they were the chosen one in that respect. But I think what happened, and that's why I love the Microsoft acquisition here, because what happened is the business model changed on them. And although they were the most hardcore and the RPG lovers, RPG guy, you know, game studio, sadly, in a world with the Call of Duties and the, you know what I'm saying, the Fortnites, and I think they just got ate up, and they just profit-wise could not compete with that. And that's when you start to see them dip their toes into things that they normally wouldn't do. We like, no, that's not you.
Yeah.
That's not you. So I'm with you. I think it was a humbling. I think that now with backing, with stability, right? That's what excites me about Starfield. So people are like, yo, they still haven't shoot. These two dukes are capping. That's what they're going to say. You know what they're going to say. These two, they haven't seen, and this is the problem. Because the excitement of what they have done, combined with the stability and everything they are talking about to this point, gets you back into that pocket when Fallout came out, when Skyrim came out, when Oblivion came out. And you remember the level of detail and excellence of RPG mechanics and character development and choice. See, I love when they set the choice. None of that preset stuff. I can persuade characters. I could like it. They're getting into the deep minutia of why people love them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why people are excited. Now it's just show us and execute. But that's why people are not worried about, because the track record of how they used to do it seems to fall in line with this. And that's why people are getting hyped, man.
Absolutely. Exactly that. Because if they were doing this for every release, that's one thing. But like with Fallout 4, they did not talk like this even. And granted, I was hyped because I was like, 19? I was like just stoked to the high heavens about just a new Fallout game. Woo! I think I was 18. But you know, the way that they're speaking now about this game is just so different from anything we've seen for literally a decade. Like it's a huge transformation for them. And I think it's no doubt that, like, knowing they have the money from Microsoft, they know they're going to be reaching a bigger player base with Game Pass, that accessibility, it's going to be huge for them. Let's talk a little bit about the persuasion minigame, shall we, that they're putting in there. So they mentioned that, again, elements of Oblivion. They said it's not a system where there's definitely a right thing to say. And while talking about Oblivion, they did mention how, like, oh, this is not, like, we didn't originally look at the Oblivion persuasion system and say, like, how do we reinvent this? But they said there are definitely elements of that in there. How do you feel about them maybe boiling down persuasion to a mini game? Because for me, I love skill checks. I love my skill checks. I love when you respect the character I've built. And you're like, you're good at trading, so you can convince him with a little bartering skill here. What do you feel about this persuasion mini game? Do you think it goes deeper than that to the skills you have? How do you feel about Oblivion's persuasion mini game that they had with like the 4 bars and the bribery, and you'd see them, like, their facial expressions would change based on what you're saying. It was something foul, but now, nowadays it looks foul. Back then it was really cool. So how do you feel about what they're doing with dialogue here from what we know?
I love it because, again, it really personalizes, character interaction, and it makes you care about these choices. And to me, it's always the reaction and how it affects the world, how it affects, the relationships or the faction of characters you're going to companion, work with or not. And I listen, I love games like that. I love games where I can invest. One of the things about, even though it's not apples to apples here, but one of the things about Outer Worlds that I liked, right, was just like, again, if you invest in certain skill sets or whatever, you can talk your way out of situations, right? But this, to me, this persuasion stuff, I like it going further because it personalizes that interaction. You really, that person now, that character feels like a person that you gotta work with in a relationship with. So yeah, man. And then another thing, they did mention relationships in the game. I did hear them say that, which excites me because then now you get them. I don't get too gassed, but you're giving me a little Mass Effect-y kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about traveling the worlds, right? You're giving me vibes, bro. You're giving me, like, I am a sucker for sci-fi.
Same.
So you're giving me sci-fi with heart. Like, this is a dream. You understand? For me, this is a dream project for me. Yeah. I haven't had sci-fi RPG on this scale since, like, a Mass Effect. And I'm not saying they're going for that exact same thing. This is Bethesda. They do what they do. But everything here has the makings of something really, really great. And I don't know if you saw those the alleged leaks from way back that seem to be coinciding.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's been being revealed?
Yeah, I want to run gung ho with it because some people were saying, like, it was like a wish list, but there were some things that were lining up, and if any of this ends up being true, like one of them had said, like, oh, the planets are the size of a Skyrim, and I'm like,
we'll see.
I was like, okay, if that's true, Elden Ring, step aside because that'd be insane.
That would be insane. I know not to give the rumors all this light, but I want to see. I don't know. Maybe you can confirm if you've heard this or not. Like, one of the things about Elder Scrolls that I love so much is basically, leveling up through actual actions that you do. Right. And I want to know if those core things, like, if you remember in Skyrim, you're the 2-handed guy, or you use destruction spells a lot, or you use, based on usage. And I'm very curious to see how they handle all that stuff as well, too. But companions, they've confirmed companions also can die. Like it's we getting into some territories that I like, man. I like when choices and relationships impact the world. And
Yeah, they
man.
mentioned that there are skills in Starfield. Like that was definitely confirmed. So
Mm-hmm. You saw the big corporate cyberpunky looking area,
yeah, oh yeah, dude. This it's
bro.
so funny. Like I know I'm just gassed up because like concept art for any other game does nothing for me. I'd sit here and go gameplay first, gameplay first. But I guess it's
Yep,
because
yep, yep.
BGS has such a rhythm. Like I know they'll show it to me at a certain point, and then I'd be complaining
Yes,
for nothing otherwise. Like I'd honestly just look stupid if I were complaining.
of course.
So like I'm eating it up. I'm getting a feel for this brand new world, and like,
Yes.
dude, the thing is it's like I'm a huge Star Wars junkie. For those who don't know that about me, like I read the comics, I read the books, I consume a ton of Star Wars content, and like this world is capturing so many different avenues of Star Wars for me. Like that Western space fantasy reminds me of Tatooine. The kind of nighttime cyberpunky reminds me of like the lower city of Coruscant. You know, they seem to be getting so many. They have this Camino like planet. Like there's just so much Star Wars energy in this game. So to me, it's like this. I can't wait to see the mods with lightsabers and stuff. I know they're going to be putting
Oh,
them in
you
here.
know it's going down. Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure.
As for the class system, yeah, I'm open for whatever at this point. Just hearing that they are going to do something more hardcore is great for me. So whether it be the
Yes.
fluid class system where they're like, hey, you use one-handed, you get a point, or they do something like Oblivion where you get perks by using them. I don't know, but I'll be keen to see. I hope they do drop the you use it gradually and it increases. I like Fallout's leveling structure more, but I'm sure
Okay.
we disagree on that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. I mean, I'm not upset with it.
Uh-huh.
I love Fallout. I mean, either in that case, listen. If they go to Fallout route, I still won't be mad though. I'll do. I will say this. I'll hope there's some Fallout route. I have to give Fallout this with the combat. I will have to. I will give because my Skyrim haters always come at me like, "Oh, that butter knife fighting that." They be coming at me with the butter knife gang.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But listen, don't let them have some VATS type situation. Don't let them have that. Because that's my only nitpick if you're going to say what Outer Worlds on some level, right? The combat is okay. You slow down, you shoot, cool. But you throw that on it, or now he's like, I mean, they may not because that's a distinctly Fallout thing.
I could see
but
like
I am
a cyberpunky upgrade that gives you VATS. Like I could totally see them doing like an augmentation that lets you have VATS. They're like, oh, we built this mechanic anyway. Why don't we just put it into an upgrade and have it work that way?
That's all I'm curious. The only thing I would say, like, not fearful, but I want to know how they handle that combat. Yeah, I do want to know that.
No, 100%. That's one thing that we should be wary of because they've talked everything we've been hyped about is exploration.
Yes.
So it's like, what's the actual combat in space, maybe, as well as on the ground? Because if they drop the old animation system, then that's which they actually, I know they're doing a new animation system for this game. That was Todd Howard confirmed that. But
yeah, that's the only concern. That's the only thing I will give the concerned fanboys. You know what I'm saying? I will give them that combat. They need to show that combat is rewarding, has some punch, maybe a little bit to it, a little visceralness. You know what I'm saying?
Combat
if they could do
skills,
that,
like not just your standard. That's the thing with Bethesda combat is it's always very one trick. Like give us face button combinations to do different things. That's what I think would be the key for them. So we'll see on that front because certainly with Fallout 4, their shooting improved. All right, let's move on to number 4 here. Coming soon to Xbox Game Pass. A lot here. Shredders is coming to Xbox Game Pass day 1. By the time you're listening to this, it will be out on console, cloud, and PC, specifically the series consoles. Next is the Dungeon of Nahilbuk, the Amulet of Chaos, cloud, console, PC. This will also be out by the time you are listening. Tainted Grail Conquest comes to console Game Pass on March 22nd. Zero Escape, the Nonary games, cloud, console, and PC, March 22nd. Norco on PC Game Pass, day 1, March 24th. F1 2021 arrives on console Game Pass through EA Play on March 24th. Crusader Kings 3 on series consoles arrives on Game Pass March 29th. And Weird West, cloud, console, and PC, March 31st, day 1 on Game Pass. This is something that I saw a lot of people talking about like it was news. It's not. That was confirmed months ago.
Yes.
Leaving Xbox Game Pass on March 31st is Madden NFL 20. It's exiting cloud, console, and PC. Narita Boy is leaving cloud, console, and PC. And Shadow Warrior 2, I thought that was surprising because the third one just came out, is leaving cloud, console, and PC. And then leaving April 11th, say your goodbyes, Cog. Destiny 2, Beyond Light, Shadowkeep, and Forsaken leave PC Game Pass.
Gonna pour one out for the homie.
Mm-hmm. There it goes.
It was a good run. We got to buy it now.
Enjoy Stony now. And then, last but not least, an announcement for our day one Game Pass game coming up, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. This game hails from the developer A44 Games, who's known for their work on Ashen, and they are now working on an open world action RPG. It is a game following a woman named Nor Vanek, who is a member of the Coalition army carrying a gun and axe in hand, as well as Enki, her companion creature imbued with magic. The game does not have a release date yet, but again, it is set for a day one release on Xbox Game Pass. Zach Yearwood wrote in, said, "Hey, Eldon Dukes, today the developers of the greatest, most underrated Souls-like game, Ashen, just announced their new title, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, a single-player third-party game coming day one on Game Pass. Ashen is the Souls-like that helped me understand the importance of NPCs and summons in Elden Ring, which ultimately led to me enjoying a FromSoft title. What are your expectations for this new title, and why haven't you guys played Ashen yet? Hope you guys have a Killing Chaos style St. Patrick's Day." Thank you, Zach. Cog, I mean, a lot here coming to the service, and then we got this new day one Game Pass game that seems to fill that hole that we had been asking for so long, right? We had been saying for so long, give us that single player game, no strings attached. What's the vibe on this?
Yeah, that Flintlock. Shout out to you who put me on.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, that's looking right. I like the potential here. So this feels like that. Like that. It feels like one of them potential ones. So got to see more. Got to see gameplay,
of course.
But from the actual, teaser trailer, looks like the dog thing companion. I love how the aesthetic of the main character looked cool, looked visceral, fighting them dark little demons and skeletons. I was like, all right, I see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm feeling the vibe. As far as the release structure and everything, looks good. But to Zach, shout out to Zach. Yeah, listen, I played Ashen. I have a story, an Ashen story. The developer at the time, it was an Annapurna Games, and we interviewed that lead. That was one of my first kind of like big interviews. Like, what I'm saying? Lead down from Ashen, and I was super excited. I was like, you guys got the game of the show. Like, I was pumped. Like I love it. And I even like people like, oh, they had no I liked the art style. It was very minimalist and it was cool. My only issue, and I actually we had him on IOP. If you load the records on our playlist for exclusive interviews, we've had the lead director for Ashen. My only issue was just the co-op was so poorly implemented that I wanted to really go there with it. And it was like Nintendo Switch levels of ridiculousness of trying to link up in co-op on an Xbox game. Like, it was just like, come on. But it was multiplayer, but at that time it was like an exclusivity window or something like that. But anyway, look, like it seems cool. Yeah, I'm going to support. I want to see what this new joint is about. How are you feeling about Flintlock?
Yeah, I'm just about it on name alone, right? Like, I don't know what this game is. I just like to see open world RPG, action game, single player coming to Game Pass day one. These are the type of games that they need to start locking down. I know it's not.
Yeah.
They got to be more selectful with these. I'm not going to say it's not a wise business decision, because it is, but they need to be more selectful. It's not like they can get recurrent pieces of revenue and grow the service by saying, hey, let's put this multiplayer game here. A friend can see it and say, just join Game Pass. We can play it together. It's really cheap than compared to you buying a $60, $70 game. But just on name alone, I'm stoked to see that this is making its way to the service. I remember Carrick was big on Ashen, like before it came out. Like, it's all he talked about. And I think he ended up not really liking it that much, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it was kind of, it was one of those. I thought it was going to be way bigger than what it ended up being. It was still solid. It wasn't a terrible game, but and I liked it a lot. I just wish it was like, I wish they had the opportunity to go back, like, or get funding for a sequel. I would love to see a sequel to Ashen.
Yes. But this seems to be what they're doing next. Do you have anything that you want to talk about on the Game Pass front? What they've added to Game Pass day one? I mean, I know we're going to talk about one later.
There's one later. There's another one that I want to talk about. I can't, because we got a question that talks about that later. But I thought they would like it was okay. Weird West looked cool. I was looking at some more info on that. I was like, it looks decent. I thought this is a solid list. It wasn't like nothing like oh my god, but there's a lot of stuff there has my intrigue. Crusader Kings, we gonna get into that as well.
Zero Scheme
You?
for me is the game.
Oh, that's the game.
Yes,
Okay.
that is the game. Cog, if you stuck with Danganronpa, I would have had your next friend right there behind it. If you just finished it, man. If you just honored the friendship and just went through it all.
Oh my god, I gotta finish it. Oh my god.
How could you not?
I gotta get back to it.
How could you not? This is the perfect game. You're a working man. You're doing a good job. What you're doing, you come home. You're tired. You don't want to press buttons, so you just get to press 1 in Danganronpa, the A button. That's all you got to do.
And deal with the murdering bear.
Yeah, deal with the murdering bear. Deal with some stress. Take it out on the murdering bear.
I need to go back.
Yeah. Well, because
you try to pull me off Destiny, sir.
I mean, yeah, that's a tough battle. That's waging a war.
Destiny's on fire right now, sir.
Yeah. But if you're ever feeling a little tired of Destiny, you're like, I'm getting fatigued, which is inevitable. This is waiting for you. But
fair enough.
In all seriousness, for those of you who have taken my Danganronpa selection seriously, consider the Zero Escape games, especially because they're bringing the whole trilogy over. That's crazy. These are excellent visual novel games that are puzzle based. So we actually talked about an Escape Academy game earlier, and this game is literally you go into an escape room, and between those moments is a lot of storytelling. And I will just say there's 3 games in this series. There's 999, there's Virtue's Last Reward, and there's Time Dilemma. And Virtue's Last Reward is like one of the craziest, no hyperbole, one of the craziest video game stories I've ever experienced. I played it for the first time in 2017 on my PS Vita. It's about a 40-hour game, which I know is a big ask for a visual novel game. What I did to shrink that down was I would look up walkthroughs for the puzzles, fly through them, and then get to the story stuff, because there are branching narrative paths. There's so many endings to this game, and there is a level of mindfuckery in this series that has not been reached yet, probably since like BioShock Infinite. Like it is on that level for me. Like it is really good storytelling. At times it goes into obscurity with its references, and they're like, let's talk about Schrodinger's cat and assume philosophical standpoints of famous. It's just like sometimes they're really out of the box with their writing, but it's a excellent, one of the best ever made visual novel series. Play the first 2 at least. If you like it, you might want to take the dive into Time Dilemma, which is a much shorter game. That game went through some serious development issues. Not that great, but I love Zero Escape. To see it come to Xbox, it's come on, Xbox. Now, day one, get these games day one, right? You're setting the precedent. We're bringing things in that we missed out on. Good. I like the cleanup act here. But now the expectation is day one. We need you there day one now. So they're doing a good job. Just wanted to shout that one out specifically. All right. We had a question that I think is more geared towards you here. The Rogue writes in, Yo, Dukes, Crusader Kings 3 to console Game Pass. I love strategy games like Civilization 6, but I refuse to spend money on a PC. So it is exciting to see a grand strategy game like this come to console, and I get to try it on Game Pass. Do either of you have thoughts on this game? Take it easy. There's another one. We were talking about Carrick earlier. I remember he was like breaking down the amount of choices in this game, and it's intense. So you seem pretty keen on this one. What's the read on it?
Yeah, bro. Like, I'm gonna be real. Like, I've heard of the series, and first of all, shout out to Microsoft for getting a game like this onto Game Pass. Like, that's huge because just on the consoles, let's be honest, these type of games live on PC. They generally, and when I watch one of the developer interviews, they talk about the rebuild of it so that the console players can experience it in a correct way. They redid UIs, they redid menus, they got feedback from console players that they want to use a traditional D-pad experience with going through different things. But the thing about this game that I was like, yo, the most strategy games, I get it, we understand the layers, but this was like heavy relationship. Yeah. This is like lordships and lieges, and who you might do a betrothal here, and that could affect your power there. Then where they got me, this is where they got me now, is they're like, all right, you pick you could pick these different leaders all over the world or whatever, and then you can kind of be like, okay, I can pick my own religion. Like, I don't want to do Christianity. I can do my, and shout out, did you see the commercial for this?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got to shout out T-Pain on this. T-Pain put me over there. Shout out to T-Pain, boy, put me over. This is a must play now. Like, literally, the man made his own, because I guess with Chris, they tell you the rules of the religion, right? And he's like, what you mean I can't marry outside the religion? He literally made his own faith, and there's going to be repercussions for it, and he called it Bootyism. And he's like, I'm marrying this person and that. Like, you could, the things you could do on a micromanagement level and all the different things that it seems to affect seems cool as hell. So I gotta try this game. Like, I didn't think I would be into it as much as I am. And I shout out to the devs. The devs are really, if you go to their like Twitter account, their YouTube page, the way they're talking about it, they're selling me on this game, man. I gotta try Crusader Kings 3. I am in on this one.
It does look really good. Mm-hmm. With that, let's move on to number 5. EA Play 22 isn't happening this year. In a statement shared with IGN, EA said the following, and Cog, I'm very excited to see your thoughts on this, because I remember I sent it to you and your words were, I have thoughts. They say, quote, we love EA Play Live, as it's our way of connecting with our players and sharing what's new with all of you. However, this year, things aren't lining up to show you everything on one date. We have exciting things happening at our world-class studios, and this year, we'll reveal much more about these projects when the time is right for each of them. We look forward to spending time with you throughout the year, end quote.
Yeah. Very, very, very happy about this news.
Yes.
Look, historically, I hate it. Like, outside of Jedi Fallen Order's debut that I got to play behind the scenes, outside of maybe a Battlefield here and there, I did not like EA Play. Mm-hmm. That was one of the pit stops that when they were in existence before pandemic, that I'd be like, oh my God, we got to do that. They would be so far off the beaten path. Then, it just, I didn't feel like they had enough to warrant all of that. Like, I just always felt that way. Like, when they announced that they were separating from the majors and doing their own thing, I was like, okay. So to me, I like this approach. Like, you talk about the games or whatever when they're ready. I didn't feel they needed a conference. I've never felt that way. Like, I'm just, because you're gonna have a new Madden, you're gonna have, like, it's the burger shake and the fry. Like, we get it. Like, when I heard EA Play, that's one I don't miss. I just don't. Like, and outside, shout out to Hayes Light, shout out to Joseph, like, respect. Shout out to Vince and the team. There's teams over there that I do respect. I've never felt EA really needs to be doing a showcase on their own. I've always felt that way. So this news is refreshing to me. I was like, yes.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't even know if there's anything I can add, because it's just one less show. It's great to see. It takes pressure off of games like Dragon Age 4, where I've said for a while, I'm like, wait to reveal it. Just wait to reveal it. No one's in a rush. Like, yeah, dude, I want to see it come out this year. Sure. But like, if the reports are true, it's coming out like early 2024, late 2023 being ideal. It's like, let's not force them to show another prototype trailer at this year's E3. And that may still happen just separately, but I'm just happy that they have understood, like so many companies don't, that like, hey, we don't got enough to show. We probably shouldn't have a showcase here. So good on them. Happy to see it. Let these games have their own platforms to announce things when they want. I love the big show, but if you don't got anything, don't waste our time.
Agreed.
Number 6, our final bit of news here. Of course, with everything else going on, there has been an acquisition. Tequila Works, developers of Deadlight, Rime, and now Song of Nunu, a League of Legends story, has accepted a majority stake by Tencent. This marks 10 plus investments by Tencent in just this year, 2022 alone, and it is safe to assume that they are nowhere near close to done. How do you feel about this one, Cog? It's just another one. It's another one, right? For many people, another bullet dodged, but one day we're going to catch a bullet, yeah?
Yeah. Here we go again. Like I said, I got to give Last Stand Media its credit. We're like one of the only platforms I see talk about this stuff consistently. Like no one's talking about it. It's getting to the point every Duke now.
Mm-hmm.
Every Duke, there's a new Tencent acquisition, right? Okay. Everyone want to talk about other people and monopolies. No one's talking about this and how it affects game dev and game choice and direction and the bag and okay. It's inevitable they're going to touch something. You just gotta wait for the I say virus, but for this thing to spread. And it's gonna get on your game too, and then I want to see where you at. Like that's where I because it's all cool when it don't affect you.
Yeah.
Right? It's all cool, but when it's your joint that you love, and then you start to see something change, okay, we're gonna revisit this conversation.
Yeah, literally that, man. It's not surprising because they're doing a League of Legends game, and Tencent's like so deep in League of Legends and Riot's pockets. It's not even funny. So I'm not surprised that they have a majority stake in this company. But a lot of people, I was reading the replies. There were a lot of people were saying like, "You guys are supposed to be one of the good ones, man. Like, what happened? Why?" And money talks, and
it talks, man.
I don't blame some of these studios for selling it. It's a time where maybe Tequila Works is, they're working on a IP that's more popular than anything they've ever done before. Rhyme was a great game, apparently. And they're like, hey, we're more expensive than we've ever been. Like, yeah, let's sell. Yeah, you're offering us like, who knows, probably a couple $1 million. That's a ton of money. Let's do it. And we can move on with our lives. So I get why they're taking it. I'm not going to shame anyone for making their money.
Yeah.
But just know to those listening who are like, it's not a big deal. You guys are just sounding all the alarms with the initiative. And all this. I'm telling you, with this type of stuff, like Tencent's going to eventually overextend, is what it'll be referred to as. But it's funny to watch them being the number one gaming company in revenue continue to gobble up companies. Granted, these are small, right? I'm not going to try to compare like Tequila Works to Activision. But this is why I keep my mind open to the idea that Microsoft could absorb someone. I know they're in a vastly different position. They got Game Pass. You could argue there's a monopoly on subscription services instead and not gaming as a whole. There's a lot of different avenues, and it's all depending on how, the antitrust people wake up and feel.
Yes.
But with that in mind, I just look at deals like this. I'm like, we're talking about the number one who's just, we got another one and another and another and another and another and another. And they just keep going. And I'm just like, what's stopping Xbox? So that's my takeaway is I'm reading this as like I don't think Xbox is as stuck in the mud as, I don't think they'll make a move, but I don't think they're the stick in the mud that people view them as right now.
Right.
When it comes to the moves like that. So that's all the news for this week. With that, it's time to move into the Game Pass back-compat pick of the week. It was one we talked about ever so briefly earlier, but Cog, please take it away.
This one, I surprised myself because I remember, shout out to Shredders. I remember seeing it at the Microsoft Bethesda showcase. I'm like, okay, I normally don't buy these type of, for the record, Cog normally does not buy these type of games. Really? But I had to admit, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, nice little snow physics, downhill. Okay, cool. And I saw the updated trailer about it coming. And I'm not going to front, Matty. It was kind of a vibe. The beats was rocking. You're doing your tricks. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, there was a fluidity to it. And the engine looked clean. It looked nice. You know what I'm saying? And I just could see myself just downhill, getting the snowboard, you know what I'm saying? Rocking out to some cool beats and just doing these tricks. And it looked cool. I have to admit, like, it made me go, I want to check out this genre and have something like this in Game Pass, something I would probably not buy off the rip, to be honest, right? I'm like, you know what, Shredders? I'm going to go check you out. You looking right. Now, do you have any history of with it or just, in general, or just have your eye on it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I definitely have my eye on it because growing up with my original Xbox, like a game I played a stupid amount of was Amped. I loved the Amped snowboarding series, and they got up to the third one, where the third one you could do like cool park customization. And I know Shredders is like an open world snowboarding game that very much is less SSX and much more Amped, which I love. Like SSX on in 2013 when that came out is one of the most underrated sports games ever made. Shout out to EA for that one. But Shredder seems to really take that Amped energy that's been missing and puts it into this game. So I actually am keen on checking it out. Unfortunately, and I hope I can stop saying this soon, I am busy with reviews. So this is another one that's just a business decision. It's like, I love what I'm seeing here, but I can't right now. I feel bad for games releasing this year because there's just so many choices.
Bro, it's tough out here, man.
It really is. So anything more you'd like to add on Shredders?
Nah, man, like I said, I'm very excited to pick this thing up. And one thing you'll get me, smooth engine, fluidity, animation. And if your music is rocking and the music seems like they got a nice little soundtrack on them, I'm in. So I'm going to check this thing out.
Right on. Okay, time for the 5 final questions of this week's episode. You can submit those at patreon.com/laststandmedia if you'd like to be a part of the show, just like Devin K is, who writes in, says, "Hey, Dukes, Matty, you've talked about the game you're developing on Defining Dukes several times now, but you haven't given us any real details. Can you at least give us a rough timeline on when you'll be able to announce more information? I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. Cog, you keep being you. I don't know you, but I like you. Thanks for the great show every week." I wanted to address this because I know I mention it a lot. Again, I want to just explain myself ever so briefly here because I know no one's ever written in and complained, but I might be a little self-conscious about it because I feel like I'm not Omega qualified. Like I'm like Mark Dara, who spent 20 years in the industry. So I don't want to come across like a know-it-all when I speak about it. So it's why I always preface it with like, I know I don't have anything to show, but I just feel like that insight is very helpful to the discussion. I want to source where it's coming from. So I do talk about it a lot and my experiences with making it. In the terms of a timeline, I don't really want to necessarily give any of that because, look, I can't talk the talk here on the show and not walk the walk, right? I always tell people, clam up till the game's ready. And I can tell you right now, like the game's making good progress. Like we are rolling right now. Like we were at a point late last year, the holidays did swamp us a bit. And we were like, okay, we got to be better. And we restructured for the beginning of this year, and it has been really good. I'm not saying smooth sailing. It's still difficult, but it's been going well. So I feel pretty confident about the timelines and the deadlines we're setting because, again, completion urgency is a thing I'm pretty hard on. Like, let's get it done. And I trust my team to understand my vision, and they've been really, really seeing that through. So, there hasn't been any sacrifices. I'm really happy with it so far. So I will do this in a very specific way. And if you know me, I'm just going to say, my favorite type of video game reveal. So I'm letting everyone know I will walk that walk and keep an eye out for that. But I just wanted to explain that a little bit more because I know I'll be bringing it up many times in the future. And the goal is not to bring it up so many times that when it's announced, y'all are like, okay, I knew you're already working on it. I know the shock and awe of it's gone, but I feel like that's worth it for the conversation. Because when you see the game, then you'll be like, oh, fuck. Oh, shit. He's making that with the team.
Nice.
And so I'm very excited about it. But we'll talk more when it's ready.
As our always go get that exclusive.
As our favorite devs like to say. I have a whole plan in mind on how I want to like reveal everything. So I'm very excited. I have like a whole roadmap in mind. I'm just not that type of roadmap, by the way. Not that type of roadmap, but like how I want to do things. I'm very excited for it. So you will see plenty of the game when it's ready. All right, let's move on to Dano Mind. Hey, Dukes, this one is for Matty. Cog, of course, I want you to chip in as well here. The other day, I was watching Matty's State of Play coverage on his YouTube channel. I just want to see his level of excitement over the TMNT collection because I know he's a huge Turtles freak like me. Anyways, I patiently waited for the TMNT part, and as soon as Matty yelled out Cowabunga, the video was interrupted by a stupid Crossfire X ad. Matty, they may have seen your review and decided to be funny and insert their ad in your video. Yeah, by the way, you can't control what appears in the ad, so there is something kind of incredible about that.
That's awesome.
He says, I was going to just finish the write-up. He says, I'm just kidding. I just thought it was a funny coincidence that happened. Anyways, do you think that we'll be getting the TMNT collection soon to get us ready for Shredder's Revenge, or will we be waiting a while after? Thanks for all you guys do, and I want to wish you both a wonderful day. Cog, what's the feeling on TMNT, right? We got Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah.
Coming from like Dotemu. And I forgot the studio is actually working on it right now. I'll have to look it up. But then you've got Konami doing the TMNT collection. It's like, what comes first?
That is a very good question because I wonder how Nintendo feel.
Yeah. They're like, yo, we're
'Cause
supposed to be filling the hole here, right?
we supposed to be the guys that's doing X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? So they've got the new joint. It looks cool. I got confidence in that team. They always respect nostalgia, but then also update it to with some modern sensibilities to make it fire. I'm not worried about the Shredder's joint. I am concerned
Tribute
about
Games, by the way, is
Tribute.
yes.
Okay, that's who's
That's
making
the
it.
developer.
Yeah, I am concerned about the proximity though of the release. When is it releasing? And so that's the only thing that could take Shredder's thunder if it's too close. But to me, it wouldn't make marketing sense. They've got to be aware of each other on some level. So yeah, I don't know how that works, man. And the owner of the IP, which I don't know off top, but I'm very curious with them when they want a specific release cadence. This is the Turtles, man. Like this is huge.
Yeah.
So you want to be smart about that release, those releases.
100%. I think you got to let Shredder's Revenge go first because the nostalgia is king here, right? Like a lot of people will just go for the Cowabunga collection when it's out, not because Shredder's Revenge is bad or good or whatever. It's just because like you know what you're getting with the Cowabunga collection. You look at it and you're like, oh, there's Turtles in Time, there's Hyperstone Heist, there's Tournament Fighters, et cetera, et cetera. You know, you have all of them there. A whole era, a decade worth of just great TMNT games packaged onto one disc. And it's going to have a physical copy presence. We don't know if that's going to be the case for Shredder's Revenge. I hope so. But we know that there will be store shelf presence for TMNT collection, which will undoubtedly catch the eye of parents who will then buy little Johnny a video game. So I just feel like you got to give Shredder's Revenge that respect. You know, they were out there. They reminded people, by the way, when it was announced, this was a big deal. It was all over the place. When it was announced, people were like, oh, yo, I remember loving these pixel-based TMNT games. And they need to show that new TMNT games rock. So then, again, we can get the AAA 3D Ninja Turtles game that your boy has been praying for since the rumors about Rocksteady working on one. Like that was, I think, 2012 was when that started, and I've just wanted it since then. Like Rocksteady, TMNT.
That'd be fire.
All over that, eating that up. So that's my read on the situation. I think Shredder's Revenge has to go first. I don't know when though, because Shredder's Revenge was announced a while ago, and they've just kind of gone quiet. Yeah. They announced you'll be able to play as Splinter, you'll be able to play as April. So I'm assuming that like next gotta be Casey Jones. Got it.
Yeah, they gotta get a Casey. Yeah, Casey gotta get.
If they just build a whole side-scrolling roster, though, that'll be awesome. Like if they put like Karai in there too, I'll be all over it.
That'll be fire. Yeah, I can't wait, man. That's the what I'm looking for. I'm looking for both of them, but Shredders was the new take, so I want to see what's going on. 100%. I like the tempo.
Yeah. All right, next question comes from RK128. This would be a hilarious question on Sacred Symbols, I think. Hey, Dukes, I've already asked a question, but after seeing Matty's Retro Rebound video on Sonic Adventure, I have to ask, what are your thoughts on the franchise's other games? The Blur's soundtrack, it's got a great soundtrack, by the way. The Blur's track record can be spotty, but I really did enjoy stuff like Sonic Colors and Sonic Unleashed. And with the second movie coming, I am getting slightly hyped for the Hedgehog of the Forest. I mean, Sonic Frontiers. What's your hype, if you guys have any, on Frontiers? And do you think Microsoft will try to make a push for the game? A good Sonic 3D game on Game Pass could make some headlines. Have a I lost all my rings kind of day.
Yeah.
Are you a Sonic guy? I don't know where you stand on this series.
Yeah, no. I like Sonic. I'm not a hardcore Sonic guy. I like him. But I know people who go hard in the paint for Sonic.
I'm dating one. Who I got into an argument with my girlfriend over Sonic.
I gotta hear this.
I don't even remember what it was. I think I was just like, I'm not interested. It was before I played Sonic Adventure 1. I was like, I don't care about the series. She's like, you're being closed-minded. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not closed-minded. Certainly not. You know, I'm in my feelings. I'm like, no, I'm not. She's like, you are definitely being closed-minded right now if you are not going to play Sonic Adventure. And I was like, okay, I'm going to prove you wrong now. I'm going to give it a shot. And I ended up really liking it. So she was right.
Yeah. There is a civil war in the Sonic community with 2D Sonic versus 3D Sonic.
There is. Yeah. Sonic 06, that game that it should have had it all, man. It was in their clutches and they let it go. Sonic 06 has a charm to it still. Like you can just tell what they were trying to make. They didn't have the time to, and it could have been so good. Someone's actually remaking it who's never played a Sonic game before. They're remaking it. And there are levels out that you can play, and I've played them. It's really good. Someone is fixing Sonic 06 actively. I think they're about like 40% through the game right now. And Sega's all about it. Sega's always been about that community. Like that's where Sonic Mania came from. They're like, yo, let's get these fans to make an official Sonic game. So I love that Sega's done that. They're very much protective in the right ways, but allow their fans to have fun. That's off track though. Do you have a favorite Sonic game? I gotta know.
I don't really have one. It's funny you say that. It's funny because I've been challenged that way. And it's like, I guess I'm old. That's where old card comes out. I'm just
the Sega Genesis Sonic.
Yeah. It's just it's always gonna be special to me because people don't understand the time that game came out, right? I've never seen a game move that fast. So that whole blast processing thing, and you're doing the loop, and then somebody's got right now, this is hilarious though, this is kind of an indictment on video game development. Someone's got out right now, like, I never understood another reason why I liked Sonic back in the day. That music was hitting.
The music for Sonic is so good.
So good. I'm gonna send it to you. There's I don't know if it's a TikTok guy or an Instagram guy. He's got clips of all of Sonic 2D Sonic's favorite beat like songs, and then the real artist where it's almost stolen. The interpolation of like Prince songs and other pop songs of the 80s and the era that Sonic came out with. And I'm like, oh no, Sonic. Oh no. Like, he literally breaks it down into melodies for like 10-second clips. And he'll do this. You'll know it's a video. The guy's doing this and he's playing a famous song. Then he'll go to a Sonic board on stage 2, and you're like, oh my God, that's where they got it from. So there's like a little expose right now in Sonic music. So again, it goes back to my original point of why I really liked the 2D Sonics from back in the day, because it was a speed thing. It was a vibe thing, and you're hitting them rings. And yeah, man. So I just love the originals, man. Those are classics to me. I still hear the music. It's still in my head. Like it's a thing. You know what I'm saying? So, but no disrespect to the guys, because the one that came out on back compat recently, that was a classic one that got the FPS boost. Oh man,
Unleashed. Yeah.
That's a good one. So there are some 3D Sonics that I like, but gun to my head, 2D Sonic, I'll probably go with.
It's funny you bring up Unleashed, because I think that game is a atrocity. That game is not good, and any Sonic fan who tries to tell you it's good has not played it recently. That final boss fight will haunt me for the rest of my days.
Oh, that's what this is.
There are also some levels that just are not good. Like there are levels that you just die over and over and over. And Sonic's community is a lot like the Souls community. Like a lot of just get good. It's like no, not when the mechanics are like this. My favorite Sonic game though, Generations. Generations is
okay.
So good. That's a blending of 2D, 3D. It takes stages that you know from all these different Sonic games, puts them in one. I love Generations. That also did get FPS boost, by the way. That game is great. And then of course Sonic Adventure is up there too. Like that game, that game is so campy, it's good. And hey, shout out to E102 Gamma. That is a good story in there. There's like 6 story paths you can go through to get the ultimate Sonic ending, and which I don't know what the hell they were thinking with this game, but it's why it's so cool. It's weird. And E102 Gamma has an actual story that's kind of sad, and I'm like, that's when I developed an appreciation for it, because I beat it and I was like, I felt something for Sonic. No,
for Sonic.
Yeah, I was like,
for the homie.
What? What's going on? It's like I've sworn hatred for this, but it's a good part. Good part.
No doubt.
All right. Thank you for writing in RK128. And as for, I forgot to mention, what's the hype for Frontiers? We didn't even answer that part of the question. Open world Sonic, Breath of the Wild Sonic. We getting the vibe?
I don't want to get too gassed yet. You know what I'm saying? He's broken my heart before, but it's promising. It's promising. You gotta execute. Yeah. everything sound good.
Yeah.
I need to see it. 3D Sonics, I'm a little bit more harder on, but I just got to see it. I just got to see it. Where are you at with it?
For Game Pass, Sega would actually be stupid to do this. Sonic is mainstream now. Like, they are finally mainstream, right? The movies are popping off. The games are their excitement for it. People like Sonic now. It's not a joke anymore. I think Game Pass could be great goodwill. Like, just come join us and play. But this game is going to sell well. Just let the movie do its thing in April. Show off the game in June. Let the hype train roll. Like, this game will be fine. I don't think it needs Game Pass.
Really?
I don't think it needs Game Pass. Yeah, really. I like, if I'm saying, I don't think it needs Game Pass. Watch, this is the big single player game that they do pluck out and actually do.
That's what I'm saying. You sure you want to not grab this one?
No, I'm not going to. I'm gonna stand my ground. I don't think they need to. If they do it, that's awesome. That'll be huge. I'll be stoked. But I don't think they need to do it. I think Sonic is huge right now. But if I'm Xbox, maybe put the money out and say, hey, we need to market to a kid-friendly audience. So there is a reason why they could do it. I just don't see why Sega would do it. As for my personal hype, like, I see a Generations moment kind of happening with Frontier, where, like, the open world and there's a lot of 3D levels. And when you go into these portals that they're apparently in this world space, like, there will be 3D levels, there will be 2D levels. And if it's like that, we're in for a treat, right? Like, we're in for a treat. So very much looking forward to Sonic Frontiers. Hopefully it doesn't release too close to Starfield, or else sincere
right
apologies
now,
to that.
I'm telling the same way I told all you February games what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I said, man, what's God Howard's date? November
11th.
Was it 22nd? What was 11/11, right? Let me tell
Stay
you.
far away.
Stay away from that date. I'm telling you right now. I know what I'm playing.
Stay away from that date.
Stay away from that date. You don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me.
All right. Mm-hmm. Next question. Max Gale. Dukes, I've been playing through Scarlet Nexus lately, as I'm absolutely loving it. The action RPG aspects mixed with the Bond system and visual novel-like cutscenes just works for me. So much that when I finish the game, I plan to watch the anime of it to get engrossed in it more. I have a two-part question that follows this. We have a few live-action series being made for Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, Blizzard IP, but which do you guys give an animated series to? Not live-action, full animation. I'd personally love to see a Diablo series using Blizzard's cinematic team as the ones creating it. I still watch Diablo 3 cutscenes and think, how did we not get one? It's a good question. An animated series. I got one.
Oh,
I got one, but they can't do it because they pulled the trigger on the wrong idea, if you ask me. They could have made a Cuphead silent cartoon with the Vault Boy. With the Vault Boy. That's where I was going with it. Yeah, you thought I was going one way. I just went left on you right there.
Oh, you went the other way. Did the Vault.
A Vault Boy cartoon. Because they did those. Remember those Fallout 4 special trailers they do for S?
Oh, I love those.
And each of them were cartoons. And when I saw that, I'm like, yo, this is your show. This is your show. Like the Vault Boy escapades, and just 5 to 10 minute episodes a week of him just getting in these random problems. It's a silent cartoon, like Tom and Jerry, but the Vault Boy. I was like, this is it. Like, you got to do this. But they instead decided to make a fucking live action show. So that would be my pick if I had to call. But what is yours if you have one?
That's fine. That's hard to beat, man.
It's because I've thought about it for years.
Bro, I ain't got really nothing to top that. I was just thinking you might want to start moving Senua up the list.
Okay, I like that.
You might want to start really attaching her to your hashtag just one marketing and really go with it because she's got some. Could you imagine like a dark anime? You know what I'm saying? Icelandic joint. And, you got the mind as if they really want to go with the mature and the dark and really touch on some things, like they could go with the mysticism. They could go with the psychosis. They could go, what I'm saying? The voices, and it could be something. Like, I think that's the one right there.
That's a good pick. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that they got that's... Cog, you big Elder Scrolls guy. Do you do it? Do you do Elder Scrolls anime? Because I think of the cinematics for Elder Scrolls Online. Oh, Have you ever watched
Oh yeah,
them?
they
Oh
always
my
fire.
god.
Oh, those are
Yeah,
amazing.
right.
Those are
Like those
amazing.
are
Oh yeah,
incredible. And I'm just thinking to
yeah,
myself,
yeah. Every expansion.
show about that maybe?
It could work. My only concern is always with games like Elder Scrolls where you're the character. So it's like,
Mm, yeah.
it's everyone's gonna be upset because it's not their personal version,
Mhm.
of the main. So those ones I do struggle with. Now, listen, I know production wise and anime, I know it's gonna be top tier. I just worry about the guys that really, because Skyrim, you really attach yourself to these characters and it's your own, and people when they see a certain whatever, even if someone picks like I don't never pick elves, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they made the main character, whatever, it's not like it's The Witcher and Geralt and
Mhm.
For a fact, what you're getting kind of thing when
Yeah,
it's that type of thing. So we'll see. But I like this question. That was a really good question.
absolutely. And now on to our last question. AJ Murray writes in, "Hello, Dukeman. Cog's Eureka moment last week regarding New Vegas 2 content in Fallout 76 had me thinking about the Fallout television series. By the way, I just got to interrupt real quick and say, this idea, I don't know why it never crossed my mind. Going by the recent trend of video game adaptations for movies and TV, a new product has usually been released or heavily updated to coincide with a new show or movie. With the release of the show, do you think Fallout 76 will be given a boost, or will Fallout 4 perhaps be given the Skyrim treatment and have a fresh next-gen release? Hope you both have a someone is walking incredibly slow in front of you and you can't get past them type of day, which I experience all the time in the city."
Oh,
Yeah.
annoying. Yep. It's New York Giant.
Cog, I remember when we saw that roadmap and we saw that the expeditions expansion mode, whatever they're going to call it, for Fallout 76 was launching in the fall. And I saw it and went, why? With Starfield, why would you do this unless you're trying to bury the game? But it's possible, I'll admit I could be wrong here. It's possible that it's because the show is dropping in that vicinity. Is it possible? And they're like, okay, like people are going to be coming to the new Fallout thing. What's your read on this?
I think this is a good call, AJ. I think you may be on to something, man. Yeah, because we were sitting there like, why would they release it in that window? Like, why would you even be in the proximity of all that heat that we talking about earlier? So it's just like, now I'm like, yeah, it makes sense because you want to listen. We know 76 definitely need a little bump from environment standpoint. But if you do some type of cross marketing between the series, a television series, and then it's like, yo, right now 76 has this pack that's out, and you maybe have items or something that kind of coincides with it. You've got marketing potential. And I think it would behoove them to get Fallout 76 new content at that same time because the fever will be there, right?
But just reading now, on January 6th, news broke that Amazon scheduled Fallout production to begin in 2022. Deadline reported. So now, I was too quick to admit I was wrong.
Too quick.
Ooh, see, this is why I never say I'm wrong, because I'm just not.
Break it down.
So what's going on? Well, then what's going on? Is it does Fallout get lifted up? I like the idea here AJ has about a Fallout 4 re-release, because I've always been a big proponent of, obviously in a post 76 world, it's probably not the best idea, but Fallout 4 co-op would have made sense. Like that game was for all intents and purposes was like a looter shooter in a lot of ways. Like,
yeah,
it really was. Like there were so many locations that you just show up, kill things. There was no quest line, no readables. It was just kill, loot, move on. What's the chest at the end of the tunnel?
Yep.
With this game, though, like you could see a co-op partner hopping in, like one extra could be great. So I don't know. I think that would be awesome to see. But I think with this knowledge in hand, that I apologize for not verifying ahead, because I did not double check.
You good. You good.
It might just go back to this is just an ill-advised call by Bethesda. I mean, they could have a trailer drop then, but does that the numbers, for example, they didn't show up for The Witcher with Netflix until the show was out.
Till the show was out. Yeah. So once again, we go back to square one. Damn.
I mean, we just put our open-mindedness on display, right? We're like, oh, this could be good. They're actually thinking big. We're like, never mind.
Never mind. It ain't. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the content's coming, and that's when they had it scheduled.
Yeah.
Good luck with what your next do.
Yeah, have fun. So
have fun with that.
AJ, thank you so much for writing in. Definitely, I think, Cog, you're onto something with the idea that, like, if they can coincide Fallout content with this live service game, this could start to build some momentum. It could be cool, but we shall see. We shall see. With that, that's the end of our episode. That's all we've got written down here on this Google Docs sheet. And
yeah,
Cog, has been an absolute blast as always. I mean, I got to know, what are you feeling for this hashtag for the week?
Come on. We know it's got to be initiative, DD. We know it's got to be initiative.
I feel like we did the initiative, DD.
Did we do the initiative before?
Yeah.
I thought we did like Crystal D or something.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, that sounds right.
We never really put the spotlight on initiative.
Yeah.
This is there on them boys.
Taking initiative, DD?
Yeah, taking initiative. That's a long write.
That is a long one.
That's a long write.
We test the audience and see if they can do it?
I'm cool. Let's do it. Let's see if they will put a lot of characters in there.
Yeah, let's see. Let's give them a long hashtag. Normally we're quite concise.
Yeah, usually we're short. Yeah, sure. We give them that.
I think look, we give them 63 episodes of just these condensed hashtags. Taking initiative, DD. Now it doesn't roll off the tongue that smoothly, but let us know. I'm at G27status. That's at Lord Cognito. Tag us on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts on the show. You could use the comments down below if you'd like to. Whichever way, we just want to engage with you, see what you thought of the episode upon completion. Cog, with our hashtag in place, taking initiative, DD, is there anything you'd like to initiate before we conclude this episode?
We brought that heat. We brought that fire. Classic episode. A lot of moments. Yeah, man. This is a good one. We definitely took the initiative on that situation. And support the show, y'all. Like we're killing it, man. I really love these talks and the topics. And yeah, this was a meaty one. So
absolutely.
Salute to the Dukes.
Right on. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And we will catch you next week with episode 64 of Defining Duke, where undoubtedly Sony will acquire Warner Bros. And they will have Hogwarts Legacy as an exclusive.
Yep. Exclusive.
It's there.
Insider.
Yep, get ready. It's going to be there. And with that, we'll see you all next week for that discussion in episode 64. Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.